right.
John, wake up, John.
I'm awake. What
John,
up?
it's the holidays.
What?
John, it's the holidays. It's the holiday season. Christmas is coming.
Yeah.
Candy canes, Rudolph, Santa, presents.
Fucker owes me money, by the way.
Does he?
No, I don't
Did
know.
you ask for money one year?
No.
And then you were like, what is this shit? Super Nintendo. I wanted $500, Santa.
No. I always wanted the Super Nintendo. He never gave it to me.
Ah, son of a bitch. Well, I hope that everybody out there in podcast land asked Santa for the Rage Select podcast. You don't even have to wait until Christmas. That shit's in your stocking right now. And I'm Jeff.
I'm John.
Yeah, I love me some Christmas time.
Christmas is great.
It's a little stressful because I got everything all backed up. It's like I would take a week off after Christmas, and the only way to do that is to work like double hard the first 2 weeks of December. So right in the middle of that right now. But, there's still time for other stuff. There's still time to try to finish some of those games before 2019 is done. What are you trying to finish right now, John?
Death Stranding.
Okay. How far are you?
Not very.
Oh, man. You got to get going.
Yeah, I got a lot to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a holiday content for that, where you get a little jingle suit and like a big sack.
Maybe the BB inside the little canister can have a little Santa hat.
Yeah,
on.
little elf ears or something
like
that.
A snow globe instead of being in like liquid.
Yep. No, I'd take that. I'd take all that.
Yeah, no, I'm totally down for it. I'm debating on whether or not I'm going to go back to Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Like I still feel like I'm at the beginning of that, but I just got to get to a point where I'm like, I don't know if I care about this game enough to actually finish playing it, which really makes me sad because I really wanted to like it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a case of me being like super hyped, because as everyone who listens to this podcast knows, I was very apprehensive.
You've been keeping your expectations in check on that game.
And I really wanted to like it. And it's not a bad game. I just don't know if I like it.
Yeah.
But, I can see why people would like it. It's just not, as I've said before, and I think I may have said it previously when I was last on the podcast, Dark Souls is not something I wanted out of my Star Wars game.
Yep.
Or wanted in a Star Wars game. So, but
I could have seen if they went full Dark Souls, like if they had a full RPG thing where you could kind of make your own character and customize them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, or different build varieties. You can make a super heavy force user or a super melee focus, like heavy melee, light melee. I don't know. A lot of it just feels too funneled into this one play style that just reminds me so much of the Force Unleashed.
Yeah. But I also still got to finish playing Luigi's Mansion 3. I still got Rage 2 that I got to go back and play now that it's on the Xbox Game Pass.
Oh yeah. You mean you're not gonna play Pathologic 2 when it comes out next Friday on the Xbox Game Pass?
I gotta do that too.
Yeah, horrible existential dread Russian video games.
Yeah, stuff like that. So I'm in the middle of a lot of stuff. I'm trying to play as much as I can to be able to write up what my top 10 list that we do at the end of every year.
Yep.
I'm trying to catch up on those because I'm a little bit behind.
I'm actually thinking that normally when we do the top 10 list, or when we go back and talk about our favorite games of the year, it's just you and me because nobody else plays video games. But this year I think we might have to have Michael in as well, because
I'm down
he
for that.
actually plays video games.
Yeah. No, I totally would love to do it.
I was asking Jason what his best games of 2019 is, and he's like, I think that I only played The Division 2 and Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and that's only because he likes to play with his brother online.
Yeah.
I wish you luck, sir. We have, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
3 weeks left?
But it's I haven't played anything in 4 days because Sunday you and I recorded a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
Monday I caught up on The Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah? Thumbs up?
Yeah,
thumbs down?
it's great.
Thumbs
it's great.
medium?
I love Mandalorian. It's great.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I hoped it would be, which is this weird Western / Lone Wolf and Cub / Star Wars thing that I fucking love. Everything about it.
I like the fact that the bad guys that I won't go into it because not everybody has it, but in the last episode there was a thing that was a very threatening thing. Anybody that's seen it knows what I'm talking about. And that thing in the Star Wars canon has been kind of very throwaway for a while, and in this one it was just there's nothing on this entire planet that can deal with this thing. You guys need to leave. You need to go somewhere else. And it was just like, oh, right, because we're not dealing with space wizards. We're dealing with just like, people with blasters. Good people with blasters, but still people with blasters.
But yeah, no. And then like, Tuesday, I forget what I did on Tuesday, but I was busy all day Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday, there was wrestling and and then for some strange reason after wrestling ended, I just didn't feel like playing a video game but also didn't feel like changing the channel or clicking to do something else, and Gladiator started playing on the TV, so I just let that play.
The Russell Crowe movie?
Yeah. The Ridley Scott, Russell Crowe.
All right.
Gladiator just started playing, and I just started watching Gladiator on TNT for some godforsaken reason.
Oh, so you saw roughly 6 hours of commercials for your 1.5 hours of movie watching.
Yeah. It was heavily edited.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, speaking of movies that will someday be on TNT, we actually got some spicy movie trailers this week.
Yeah.
Some espionage centric movie trailers. It's funny because we got a trailer for both the new James Bond movie, No Time to Die, and Black Widow.
Yes.
And I realized when I was watching these that I'm more excited about James Bond, even though I didn't really care for Spectre. Which was the last one.
Yeah, I didn't watch the last one. I don't think I've seen the last two.
Well, Skyfall was the one before Spectre, where he goes to the house at the end.
Yeah, I didn't see Skyfall.
Oh, that was a good one. That was a really good one.
The last one I saw was Quantum of Solace.
Okay, yeah, that was before that. But I think the reason that I'm excited for James Bond is because they've given me some time to miss James Bond.
And also, this is Daniel Craig's last movie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's come around and said he will not be playing James Bond ever again.
I also really like the fact that over the last few movies, there's kind of been this story about James Bond getting older and being less effective as opposed to just like Superman. Like if you go from Casino Royale to here, I'm not the biggest fan of Quantum of Solace or Spectre, but like, there has been this progression in the age of Bond and like his ability to do stuff, and I like what I'm seeing here. Like, it seems like the blonde woman in the beginning of the thing is from Spectre.
Okay,
like, so they're carrying stuff over, and Christoph Waltz was in Spectre as well. So they're like carrying characters over. You've got Q and just a lot of recognizable faces to the point where I don't know. I just like the continuity of it all as opposed to.
I will say this trailer.
Yeah,
it's kind of a bad trailer.
How do you think?
It's just a little bit too long.
You think so?
Yeah, I feel like it starts off and it's like boom, boom, boom. James Bond.
Yeah,
and then it just slows down to a crawl.
Yeah,
and just kind of stays there.
I didn't really get that so much,
like,
but
I like. Don't get me wrong. I think it looks good, and it makes me want to actually go back and watch all of the Daniel Craig movies from beginning to end before seeing this.
Yeah,
like I do want to see this, but I don't know what it was. Like, I was all for it. And then there's just a point in the trailer where I'm like, okay, this trailer lost me.
Yeah, I think part of it might have been that in that part when it slows down, I think was when they were showing some of the people that were in the previous movies. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I was all about it. I like whoever this new 00 person is that they've got in here. I think
that's cool.
I like the action looks really cool. Remy Malek, Mr. Robot's in there as the new bad guy. I like that as well. I even kind of like the font. It's kind of got this weird throwback, like late 70s font in the No Time to Die
I think I have
thing.
that font.
Yeah.
Like I used to have like a shit ton of fonts on my computer.
Font collector.
Yeah, well, when I was doing a podcast, I had like the images, I had to like use fonts and stuff. So I used to like scour for free fonts, paid fonts, stuff like that, like just for everything, man.
But that's coming out April 2020.
Yeah.
What's something else is coming out in April? Something gaming, something big, something because it's like my birthday. Can't remember. Don't know. So anyway, I was really excited about that. Little less excited about Black Widow. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think that I was trying to figure out why I've been a little like less excited about Marvel, and I think part of it may be the lead up to Infinity War and then the payoff of Infinity War. But then I think that some of it might also be like the previous movies all were like they weren't necessarily focused on the Infinity Stones, but they were pointing in that direction. Like a lot of the movies, the Infinity Stones were part of the plot. And I feel like, with Far From Home and Captain Marvel, and I don't even know, but what I'm seeing of this, like,
takes place right after Winter Soldier.
Oh, okay. I guess I need. I feel like I was pulled through the entire first saga, or not even saga, because
I think it's Winter Soldier. Anyways, it might be Civil War, but it's like right after. Yeah, one of those Captain America movies.
That I feel like I needed something a little bit more. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Black Widow. I like Scarlett Johansson. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that it doesn't have any like big superpowered cosmic stuff, but neither did Winter Soldier all that much. I mean,
yeah, and I don't need big superpowered cosmic stuff either. Like, I'm actually interested to, like, it's funny because I feel like before this trailer, I was kind of like, whatever, Black Widow movie, her character deserves it, and sure, I'll watch it. But then, like, after watching the trailer, I'm like, oh man, I kind of want to see this movie, but not because of Black Widow, but because of every other actress, actor, character that's in this trailer. Like, I want to see this movie for everybody other than Black Widow.
Poor Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I will probably end up seeing it just kind of by reflex, but I really, I think I've even said to the contrary that I wish that Marvel would take a little bit of a break from the big world-destroying ending stuff. But that was a really compelling hook once they had the first Infinity Stone or even the Cosmic Cube, and you were like, oh shit, this is going to pay off somewhere eventually. So I don't know. Also,
and there's a lot of stuff they could do with what's going on in this movie, and I think it's very interesting.
I also realized that I don't really know anything about Black Widow from the comics. Like, I never read any Black Widow stories.
Okay.
I was never the biggest Avengers comic guy, and so like her time in the Avengers wasn't something. So most of what I know about her has been from the movies.
Okay.
And I don't know. Maybe it's just wanted something a little bit more bombastic after Far From Home that felt like it was pulling back a little bit. I mean, I don't think it looks bad. I'm not. I might be a little Marvel burned out at this point, I think.
Okay.
So I don't know. So we're opposite. So you're excited about Black Widow, kind of.
I'm not like excited
about
like,
James Bond.
It's like I'm not like super excited for Black Widow, but I am more interested in it than I was.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's a Taskmaster is in there, right?
Yeah, he's the villain.
Okay, that's interesting. I feel like I feel like he's another one of those things where people who read who are like really heavily invested in Marvel comics are like, oh yeah, Taskmaster, and I'm just like, I don't really know that much about Taskmaster.
He has photographic muscle memory.
Yeah,
meaning he can anything he can see someone do, he can replicate perfectly.
There you go.
So if he sees someone fighting, he can replicate their fighting style, like down to the minuscule muscle movement.
Okay,
that's his thing.
But he's not like super strong or anything. He's just like buff guy, right? Not
I think he might have some enhanced strength, a minor, like not like Captain America, quite Captain America level, but stronger than average.
Okay.
Of like enhanced strength, but I know that he carries around a cap shield and
a sword. He's got like the skull mask in the comics.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of replicating things down to the very smallest inch, Resident Evil 3 is going to be a thing.
Apparently.
Yeah. So last week we saw Resident Evil 3 get artwork was leaked on, I believe, the PlayStation Store.
Yeah.
So we got a few pictures of who's it? Jill? It's Jill and Carlos and Nemesis. The big thing I think that people are a little weird about, John, I don't know how well you can see it from back there, but Nemesis has a nose now.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
did he never have a nose?
No, before it was like the bottom part with the teeth just came right up to the middle of his eyes, like where his nose would have been gone.
Yeah, no, I remember that now.
And now he's got this weird nose that's been like kind of like smushed off to one side, like you could see in the this one and the wide shot that it's kind of like
Are we
scooched
sure
over.
that you didn't always have that, but it was just such low polygons and graphics that we never noticed?
I looked at some artwork of it, like not the renders, but actual like artwork of it, and I don't think Nemesis had a nose. We're calling it Nosegate, but I don't know. I mean, like it looks very much like RE2 remake, at least stylistically,
from these like square boxes that aren't anything about gameplay.
Yeah. Well, the character models for Jill and Carlos just look very dirty, like they were in RE2. I'm really excited because I never got a chance to play Resident Evil 3. I dropped off of Resident Evil after 1. 1 and 2, I believe, and then was 3 on the original PlayStation.
Yeah,
and then they went to Code Veronica on the Dreamcast. Yeah. And then
I never played Code Veronica. I admit I never played 3 either. I kind of went from 2 to 4.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Then I played
what about
the beginning of 5 and then did not play 6.
What's the one with Hunk? Gun Survivor, or
I have no
first person shooter? There's like 4 other ones in there somewhere. But I've heard nothing but good stuff about Resident Evil 3, and especially given the way that that Mr. X factored into RE2, like stalking you and like following you. Like I've heard nothing but good stuff about that same kind of mechanic with the way that Nemesis follows you around. How it's like you can beat him, and in some cases there are like good reasons to beat him because you'll get like loot off of it, but it's like very, very difficult. He's very, very strong. If I remember correctly, though, this is the first time, this is the first time that there's only one campaign, right? Because the first one had Chris and
I don't know. I've never played RE3, so I know nothing about it outside that's where Nemesis comes from.
Okay. I think I listened to the Watch Out for Fireballs podcast, and they talked about it, and I'm pretty sure that when this was developed that it was taking assets from RE2 and then adding on to them and creating this new side story in Raccoon City while all the shit is happening in Resident Evil 2 with Jill and Carlos and Nemesis. So, but yeah, I'm much more excited for that. However, it does give me the opportunity to once again ask, where's Resident Evil 8, John? John, it's been years, and I loved Resident Evil 7 so much. Where's Resident Evil 8?
They're too busy working on the remakes of 2 and now 3. And probably the remake of Code Veronica at some point.
And the Project Resistance.
Yeah.
That we all didn't ask for. Weren't really interested in and never asked for. I'm just Adam Jensen with that game. I didn't ask for it, John. I don't want it. Just, you put it away. You stop having it. But I don't know. I mean, I'll play it. I'll play RE3.
No, I'll play it.
I had a really good time with RE2. I'm trying to figure out probably where it fits on the best games that I played last year.
I've got an idea of where it fits.
Yeah, because it was great. It was great going back to Raccoon City. So, let's see. From the horror of Resident Evil, we go to the horror of Outlast. Red Barrels last week announced a new Outlast title called Outlast Trials. That is set during the Cold War, and it's going to be a co-op game with up to 4 players, which is a weird concept for Outlast, considering the main mechanics in Outlast, as near as I can, from what I remember from the first one, I didn't really play that much of the second one, was hiding, right?
Yeah, I never played any of the Outlast games, so I don't know.
Four-player hiding seems like a strange
Is this a VR game?
I don't believe so, even though all the guys in the picture that was released have goggles on. I'm thinking because they all have like numbers on them that we're going to be thinking more of like an SCP style, using like criminals or prisoners or captured people. The first game had some stuff that I feel like could lead into trials for crazy science murder stuff, but I don't know. Like as near as I could tell, Outlast 2 was kind of panned. Like it wasn't really nobody was just like on fire for Outlast 2. But I guess we will see at some point how this goes. Yeah. Let's see. From there, we got to talk about a little bit of game publishing drama. So,
Oh no.
I don't know if we actually went over this story, if I actually even talked about it on the podcast, but there was a game called Rune 2. Now, do you remember there was a company called Human Head Studios?
Yes.
Do you remember them?
Yes.
Okay. So they put out some games, and they're working on this game called Rune 2. Rune 2 came out. It was published by a company called Ragnarok, and I believe it was on the Epic Game Store. And like a few days after it published, Human Head announced that they were going out of business, and then they were immediately snapped up entirely by Bethesda to do work for them. In fact, Ragnarok apparently didn't have any idea this was even happening until they were reading like news stories about it. So at this point, Human Head has stopped working on Rune 2. But Ragnarok published this game, and they wanted to continue to support it because I believe it's an online multiplayer game. And they are now suing Human Head Studios to basically get access to the code that's in the game, because it's been like I think almost a month, and that Human Head has like not given them any of their code. They find it very difficult to get any response from Human Head since they've been absorbed into Bethesda.
Yeah.
Which I can imagine that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I can imagine that too. And you know, if that's what they need to do, that's what they need to do, man. I don't fault them for it.
I wish I could lay this somehow at Bethesda's feet, but I don't think I can.
I think we can. We can do it.
You think?
Yeah.
We got to just try.
Yeah.
You never know unless you try.
Yeah.
So this is probably Bethesda's fault.
If not Bethesda, at least Todd Howard.
Yeah. It's just Todd Howard giving out really weird edicts. He's like, don't email back that publisher. I don't like him. I'm Todd Howard. This is my Todd Howard voice.
Figure out how we can get the multiplayer to work in Fallout.
That's right. That's right. All right, from there, I have a bunch of Star stories, John.
Oh, Star Stories.
Yes, and not Resident Evil Stars stories, but regular Star stories. First off, we are living in an age of Star Wars. We have The Mandalorian. We have Jedi Fallen Order. We've got the Rise of Skywalker is coming out in
what a time to be alive.
scant weeks. If you're a Star Wars fan, it's great. But
Galaxy's Edge at Disney.
Galaxy's Edge at Disney. John's got a Bjorn with a droid in it.
I've got lightsabers.
He's got a lightsaber. But you know what everybody forgets about? I think you do with your knowing look. Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh yeah, that thing that no one liked.
But remember that Star Wars Battlefront 2 had loot boxes to support DLC that would be added into the game that you wouldn't have to pay for because the microtransactions were going to pay for it. And I'm sure that EA signed some kind of deal with Disney that they were going to be putting out stuff. They were going to put out at least X number of content things each month or a year. And so we are getting Rise of the Skywalker content for Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Apparently there's going to be there's a tropical planet in the trailers that is going to be the area that is going to be in the game.
Okay.
There's also going to be some Sith troopers, jet troopers, and then gunners and spies and resistance, some new unit types. But the weirdest thing, we're gonna play a little game. So you know, in Star Wars Battlefront, how once you play, you can get to a point where, like, if you build up the points, you can spawn in as special units, and if you save up enough points, you can spawn in as like Darth Vader or Luke
special
Skywalker.
Characters.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So they're adding some special characters. They've added, I believe, Rey and Kylo Ren so far, and they're adding for this next coming update. They're adding some very special, very notable characters from the new trilogy, the new saga that's out there. John, tell me what characters from the new saga are coming to Star Wars Galaxy or Star Wars Battlefront.
I think I actually already know this one.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Damn it! You told me you didn't know any of the news this week.
I saw someone talking about this. I didn't actually know the news item. But,
okay,
it's BB-8, right?
It's BB-8. It's BB-8, and then for the Empire.
Oh, it's the BB-9 or whatever.
Yeah, BB-9E, the evil one from Last Jedi. What? I mean,
didn't you ever want to play as a droid?
I wanted to play as HK-47. Does that count?
I wanted to play as a conch droid.
With the gonks? The
gonk droid. Has little feet, walks.
Yeah. Or maybe like that. Maybe that droid in Jabba's palace that like brands the feet of the other droids, and they're like
that specifically branded the feet of the gonk droid.
Yes.
Son of a bitch.
Or maybe like maybe they add as a DLC that eyeball droid that comes out of the side of Jabba's palace and is also in the Mandalorian, and is just like everybody's just like, oh yeah, man, let me in. This is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, BB-8, I guess beat up those security guys on Canto Bight with coins, but what are you gonna do with these guys? Are they gonna have blasters or? I don't know. It just seems like a really weird thing when you
light them on fire with the torch,
little blowtorch. I guess
hack into things.
I guess. All right. Well, fair enough. But
run people over.
I guess he hacked that AT-ST in Last Jedi, right?
Yeah.
It just seems weird to me. It just seems like a weird choice, especially because I guess. No, wait, hold on. Phasma and the other guy are in the game already. I actually saw somebody playing as Phasma. Finn are in the game already, but I don't know. I guess it just seems like there would have been some different choice. Who knows?
Who knows?
From Star Wars, let's go to Starcraft. That's right. Starcraft 2 is getting. I actually closed the news story, but I remember it. Starcraft 2 is getting a new extreme difficulty modifier called Brutal Plus for the single player that will add all kinds of crazy shit.
That's always what we wanted.
Yeah. What, you're not still playing Starcraft? After it took them 5 years to get all 3 episodes of Starcraft 2 out?
Yeah, I'm be honest, I only played the first one.
Okay. I played the first and the second one, but I never played the Protoss one because I'm a Zerg man myself. So you can play that Kerrigan campaign. But no, they've added a new difficulty level called Brutal Plus. They're actually doing a bunch of updates to apparently make it a lot easier to do map editing and create new custom maps in StarCraft 2. So, hey man, if you're into StarCraft 2, it's probably a good time to do that.
Yeah.
From StarCraft, let us talk about Starship Troopers, because there's a Starship Troopers game.
Yeah, there's a Starship Troopers game coming out.
I do not understand this, John.
I just want to know, do I get a chance to call in Rico's Roughnecks?
I almost certainly. Starship Troopers Terran Command is some kind of like tactics.
And will Casper Van Dien reprise his role as Rico in this game?
Well, he's never been able to successfully start up another memorable role, right? Jerk guy in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a weird indie game that's being made. I feel like it's strange because it looks you know what it looks like? It looks like that cartoon that they made in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The 90s
I like
cartoon.
That cartoon. That cartoon was great. I have it on DVD.
Yeah. But the actual action in the game, I don't know. Their press release said that it was like a combination of like tactics and strategy and tower defense. And I'm like, wait, what was that? Why tower defense? I don't.
Because you got to protect the bases.
You got to protect the base from all the oncoming hordes.
Yeah, you got to squash them bugs.
I don't know, man.
You got to kill them all. Jeff,
I don't know. I don't know that.
Do you want to know more? I want to know more. My wanting to know more is intensifying.
I don't know if I want to know more. I think I might want to know less. Actually, I don't know. I mean, like it. I don't want to take anything away from people that want them, but like. It's so weird how the legs that Starship Troopers has of this one cheesy weird 90s movie, and then it was like
Oh, it's not just one cheesy, weird 90s movie.
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 sequels. And then
there's 6.
Go to hell. There are not 6 Starship Troopers movies.
Yes, there are 5 there's 4 live action and 2 animated.
What?
And an animated TV series.
How many were Casper Van Diem in?
3. One of them was animated.
What about anybody else? Dizzy or...
Oh, no. None of them came back for sequels. Only Casper Van Dien.
Oh, okay.
But the other, like, there was Starship Troopers.
They could get Jake Busey back?
No, Jake
Busey's too good for your Starship Troopers now?
Yeah, he was off doing something else. But yeah, it was like Starship Troopers. Then 2 and 3 were different characters. And then 4 was Rico's Roughnecks, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Which is basically Rico leading the charge.
All right.
And then 5 was an animated movie that had nothing to do with Rico or any of the characters. And then 6 actually was, again, bringing Johnny Rico back into the forefront of the franchise again.
And you have seen every one of these?
I have seen most of them.
Okay. Are any of them any good?
Kinda.
Okay.
It depends on your definition of good.
Enjoyable, pleasurable.
Some of them are, yeah. Some of them are great.
Wait,
and
actually,
that's so bad they're good.
I think I watched one of them. I think I watched the one where he's got the iPad. No, that's CG one.
That's the most recent one. Yeah, it's the most recent animated one.
What's the other one where he's live action? Was that like 3 or something like that?
Well, 2, 3, and 4 were all live action.
But what? No, where they had Casper Van Diem in
That was
it.
4.
4? I think I might have watched that movie.
Yeah.
I think I might have watched that movie. Anyway, if you're interested in Starship Troopers, there'll be a new Starship Troopers game that you can watch. Terran Command. Yeehaw?
And I'm sure someone's going to come into the comments and be like, John, you're wrong. There's not 6 movies. There's only like 5, or there's
12.
8. Yeah, they're going to come in and say there's only 5, or there's 8, or like somehow my math, and I could be remembering wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's like 6 movies.
Wow.
And the animated TV series, which I love the actual children's animated cartoon, because it's really weird to me that there is a CGI animated series based on Starship Troopers that aired on Saturday mornings.
And that it hews closer to the book?
It does. It
because
does,
it's got
actually.
The skinnies instead of the bugs.
Well,
and
it's got the bugs, but it's also got the skin because there were
the mechs.
yeah, it's got the mech suits and
yeah, it's real strange. It's
Yeah.
real strange.
yeah.
All right, well, from Starship Troopers, let's go to Star Fox.
Oh shit!
Star Fox 2 specifically. Nintendo announced this week that they are putting a bunch of new Super Nintendo games on the Nintendo Online service.
Nice,
including Star Fox 2. So
if you didn't get the
SNES Classic,
yeah, the classic
or Mini,
whatever. Yeah,
which one
probably
was
classic.
Mini?
Mini, I think it's other companies are calling them Mini.
Sega Mini, SNES Classic.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, there's a bunch of new things coming. Super Punch Out is going to be on there.
Nice, that's a good one.
Kirby Superstar.
Okay.
And let's see, Breath of Fire 2. And then also they're adding Crystallis and Journey to Silius to the NES library.
Nice.
All this is fine. A little, still feel like they've been a little anemic with getting things up there.
I agree.
Fast enough, but I like Super Punch Out quite a bit. So
I like all Punch Out.
I would be more than willing to throw down on a little Super Punch Out. But yeah, it's good of them to put them on there. It was weird. We beat Star Fox 2 in like 40 minutes when we played it because it's got some kind of like tactical thing, and I think we might have just blundered our way into Andros and killed him or whoever the last guy was. But it's interesting. It's interesting what they did there because there's like whole levels of where you're on the ground. You know, this weird chicken walker version of the R-Wings and stuff. But yeah, so now you can check that out if you got the Nintendo Online thing, which you probably do. All right, no more supers, but we're sticking with Nintendo. Apparently, oh no, wait, there's one more super.
You mean Star?
Oh yeah, Star. Damn, I'm tired. I'm sorry. I recorded 6 videos before we started this podcast.
I recorded none.
All right, let's stick with Nintendo. Well, another thing that happened this week was Nintendo announced that they are doing a real big update to Super Mario Maker 2. They're adding in some new enemies like Spike and the Pokies. Like there's some new environmental things they're adding, like speed pads and frozen coins that can only be unlocked via the Fire Flower or Bowser or things like that. The big thing, though, I think, is that Link is now... It's possible in the original layout to basically put in a power-up that lets Mario transform into an 8-bit version of Link. And not only does... And he's not just like a skin for Mario. Like, he's got his sword. He's got his arrows. He's got bombs. He's got a dash. He can use his shield. To reflect fire. It's kind of strange. It's a little bizarre. It kind of reminds me of that... what was that NES, or what was that game where it was like, it was Super Mario Brothers, but you could play it with different avatars. You could play it with like the Contra guy, or like Samus, or Link, or
I don't remember that.
Simon Belmont. It was like a ROM hack kind of minigame thing.
Yeah,
it wasn't like an official Nintendo thing.
Okay, yeah.
But the other thing that they're adding in with this update is actually a specifically. Like an explicit speed run category, and they're called the Ninja speed runs. So the ninjas from Super Mario was 2, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Basically, these are Nintendo made levels that go up, and everybody in the world can basically try to get through them. And as you play them, there will be like hundreds of ninja replays of other people jumping all around that you can kind of see how fast you're going. And then if you complete stuff, you can get specific Mii outfits, specific avatar outfits for your Mii. And that's, I mean, like, I think that's good. I think that turning this into a specifically like codified mode in the game is cool. I don't really. Did you really get? Do you Mario Maker?
We own it. Amanda had it, and I just never got around to playing it.
Yeah, I play.
So I mean, it's one of those things that I keep being. That's another one that I keep like, I need to go play that. I just haven't.
Okay, fair enough. But this is a free update. By the time you hear this podcast, it should be out. You can download it and try it out for yourself.
Nice.
Let's see. Last in the Nintendo news for right now. The NES. Controllers that they were selling that to play NES games on the Switch.
Yeah.
They are on sale.
Oh, nice.
So instead of $50, starting December 6th, which by the time this comes out, you'll already do it, you can get them for $30 with your Nintendo Online account.
Nice.
I still don't know if I would do them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be more inclined to get the SNES ones if they dropped those, because they made some of those, right?
Yeah.
The SNES like Bluetooth controller for SNES games?
Yeah, I don't think they did.
Did they not?
Or did they? I don't know. They might have.
I thought they did. It's the end of the year.
Or if they did, they haven't come out yet.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, from there, let us switch gears from Nintendo to Sony. Last week, we got some leaked photos of PS5 Dev Kits out in the wild. These weird V-shaped things.
That's funny.
What's that?
Because there was someone did like a mock-up of what they thought the console would look like, and everyone was like, "There's no way the console's going to look like that." It's exactly how the console looked.
Yeah. Now it's
probably just a dev kit. Dev kits don't necessarily look like what the games actually or what the consoles actually look like.
Yes. Well, there was actually a statement where they said that because, okay, for anybody at home who hasn't seen this, it's basically like if you took a square console and then like cut kind of a big pizza slice out of the middle of it, where it had a bunch of vents and stuff, that would it was kind of what it looks like. But they talked about how it's shaped like this to give it more venting. And especially venting through this pizza cutter shape.
Also, it's a V for 5.
Yes, that's true. But so that you can stack them. So you can stack like a whole tower of them. And because they don't vent out the top and the bottom, that cut in the middle gives them a place to vent more hot air out of them. So you could basically have a big tower.
So I'm assuming they're saying the stacking is for the dev kits, not like that the console is going to be stackable.
Yes.
For some weird reasons, people would want to buy more than one.
Are you not going to buy 6 PS5s, John?
No.
No, you're not going to. It's just, what if you don't want to play 6 different games at the same time?
Well, I mean, does it like improve? Like, it'd be hilarious. Like, if you buy like 3 PS5s, you'll have like them all processing and connect them all together. They'll process, improve the performance of your console if you're playing your game.
Like the like SLI configuration for video cards.
Yeah.
That would be weird.
That would be weird. Be very, very weird.
No, apparently this is just for the dev kits. Yeah. So, but we have seen them. They are out there. I mean, like, it's weird. I feel like in years past, maybe it's because social media wasn't quite as big the last time around, even though, I mean, you know, we had Twitter and Facebook and stuff, but I feel like a lot of companies have been I don't feel like we saw this particular portion of the...
No.
Like, there were a lot of rumors, but we only really found out about these things for sure when an E3 happened.
Yeah.
And this year it's just been like, no, dude, there's a new Xbox.
Well, I mean, do you also remember like all those fakes, like the Switch fakes or whatever that came out before? Like, oh, I've got a dev copy of the Switch, and it was like this oval looking like thing that was like a full touchscreen. There were no buttons on it.
Oh, yeah.
And like people were like, holy shit, that's a real thing. And then like the guy had to come out and be like, no, it's not a real thing. I made it up.
My favorite was the Batarang controller for the PS3.
I remember that.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like the way that controller looks. So yeah, anyway, PS5s are out in the wild. In other leaky news for PlayStations, there is let's see. Somebody on the Kind of Funny Games cast was basically saying that they have some kind of insidery information, and that we all know that Insomniac's going to make Spider-Man 2, right?
You would think.
I think that's pretty. You know, Spider-Man 1 was so universally loved.
Such a good game.
The fact that they're using Spider-Man 1 as like, see how much faster the PlayStation 5 is than the PS4. Yeah. But apparently we may be getting Spider-Man 2 as soon as 2021.
Okay.
In this particular league. So not next year, because they said it wouldn't be at launch, but basically, you know, within 6 months of launch type of thing, or within the first year after launch. Because we're all pretty certain that we're going to announce at E3 and then for sale holiday 2020,
if
right?
Sony even decides to show up at E3.
That's true.
It could be a thing where Sony has their own thing like right before E3, like a couple months before E3, and then says, hey, this is the new console. I mean, we know Microsoft's done it in the past where they've been like, hey, here's our new console. We'll give you, like, here's the basis of it and what it is. We'll give you more information at E3, but here's this information, so that, like, with the Xbox One, and then everyone freaked out, and then they kind of dialed back everything that they had announced.
Yeah.
But it's not unheard of that Sony or both Microsoft and Sony could do their own little experience before E3 happens and reveal it and be like, we'll also show you more at E3 and talk about specifically the games, and then it'll be for sale probably Christmas. Well, they did say that the PS5 was going to be Christmas 2020. I thought that was already a thing established.
Did they? Oh, there's so many news stories.
Like when they announced the controller thing, I thought that they said it would be Christmas 2020.
I don't know. I don't remember, but it sounds about right. I mean, it.
I know Microsoft is coming out. The new Xbox coming out Christmas 2020.
The only thing that would make more sense than that would be, and it's out right now, but it would be so hard for them to keep a console because they have to stock them right in stores and like have kiosks and stuff. Like, you could try to keep that shit a secret, but some Best Buy employee would put that shit on Twitter, and then
Walmart would fucking leak it.
Yeah, or like Canadian Walmart would.
That's
put
what I mean. Like Canadian
Walmart
would fucking leak that shit in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Microsoft, and speaking of next generation of consoles, we have some information. It appears that, so when we first were hearing about the next generation of Xboxes, the original information was that there was going to be a cheaper discless streamy version, and then the more expensive, higher spec disc-based version. And at some point there was a report saying that the discless version wasn't a thing anymore, but that's not true. Apparently it still is a thing. Apparently there's going to be a second SKU of whatever Scarlett turns up to be that is a discless version of whatever the next Xbox is.
I kind of expected that.
That's going to be less expensive, probably more more streaming, more the xCloud, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, more xCloud, more of Game Pass focused.
Yeah, internal storage, Game Pass focused, which is good. I mean, I don't know. I think that, I don't know. Do you prefer when there are like multiple SKUs? Like I don't think we've been in this. We've never been in this position before, right? Like before, we would have like the PS3 Slim, right, as opposed to the fatties, but they were all, or the Xbox Elite, but they were all like kind of similar on the inside. I think this has been the generation with the PS4 to Pro and Xbox to Xbox One X that we've seen like there being, especially with Xbox One X and the Xbox S and then the S diskless, like there's so many different varieties of Xbox.
There's Xbox One, Xbox One X, Xbox One S, Xbox One SAD, which is the Xbox One S all digital.
Oh,
that's actually what it's called. Xbox One S all digital.
Yeah.
So it's Xbox SAD. Your marketing team fucked that one up, Microsoft. Yeah. So, and then the acronym for Xbox One X is just Xbox, and then
what do they call it? What do they call this one? The next one?
Oh God,
Xbox 2.
What they're calling it, the Scarlett?
Well, yeah, but that's just like,
I know that's the code name for it, but I actually kind of wonder if they just call it Microsoft Scarlett, the Xbox Scarlett or something.
What was the Wii's internal code name that was so much better than Wii?
It's the Revolution?
Nintendo Revolution? Yeah, that was it. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see like what the difference is, like what the actual hardware difference between the two is. Because God only knows, I don't want to buy more consoles.
Yeah, I just want to buy whatever console is the good console that has the disc drive. That's going to be the console to, I'm going to be honest. Obviously the hardware gets better and cheaper to make, and they're going to halfway through the life they're going to release a cheaper, slim version of the game of the console, and sometimes it might have some minor updates to the graphics just because processing power is better. I kind of don't like the Xbox One, Xbox One X, Xbox or PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro.
Yeah,
I kind of don't like that because I don't want to have to upgrade, and I feel like that's a big fuck you to people like me who already
shelled out the full price for your console, and then you're
now,
like,
luckily, it's a little bit less of a Band-Aid rip because they're basically like, no, we're not saying your games won't work.
Right.
Every game that we release from here on out will work on your original Xbox One X, or Xbox One. It's just they will look better on the Xbox One X. And I'm like, all right. Same with PS4 Pro. I'm like, all right, that's a little bit less of a fuck you, but I still kind of feel like it's a.
I think, what I think the biggest thing has been the fact that the 4K TVs got affordable halfway through this generation. And so having something with 4K support, which they had wanted to do for a long time and was viable at the beginning of the PS4 Xbox One life, but it wasn't clear that 4K was going to be everywhere, and it was going to be that you could go get a 4K TV at Best Buy for $250 as opposed to like $2,000 at the beginning of this generation.
Yeah. So I mean, I will say, if they have two SKUs at the start, fine. At least you know what you're getting when you go into it.
Yeah.
And just be more mindful of your acronyms.
Okay. Let's see. We got some more Microsoft news. Apparently Halo Reach sucks on the PC right now.
Oh, dang.
Yep. So the Master Chief Collection is on Steam for the first time. People are able to play it. Apparently the audio is all messed up. What was the description that some person had? It was on Reset Era. They said it sounds like a 144p YouTube video being played through the speakers of a broken Nintendo 2DS partially covered with a pillow. And these are like the gun noises in multiplayer. So apparently they are working on that problem, but also apparently there's not a lot of options. And then some people have reported the game feeling very strange because they think that the frame rate might be capping out on certain things at 60 FPS, and then on the PC you've got basically unlimited FPS. And so apparently it's just like it's not the best version. So PSA, I mean, if you haven't already bought Halo Reach or the Master Chief Collection, I mean, the entire Master Chief Collection is like $40 for all those games, I believe, on the PC. Or you can get just Reach.
Or if you have the Ultimate Game Pass, it's part of that.
Yeah, for the PC, for the Xbox on the PC. So maybe just keep that in mind if you're looking to buy Halo Reach. Don't jump right in. And then finally, we had a roller coaster about Game Pass. So it wouldn't be a Jeff and John podcast if we didn't spend a little while talking about Game Pass. But this time, it is not to say that Game Pass is the best, even though Game Pass is pretty cool. So Phil Spencer was doing a live stream on Mixer, and said, what was the quote? He said, he was like, I thought Control was really good. It didn't reach enough people, so I'm glad to see it's coming to Game Pass, so hopefully more people will play it. And everyone was like, wait, I'm sorry, did you just say that Control is going to be on Game Pass? And then they came out later and said, that is incorrect. Control will not be on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So they literally announced it and then walked it back with both Microsoft and Remedy saying, the information about Control coming to Game Pass is reported on the recent Mixer stream is incorrect. We have no news or announcement regarding Xbox Game Pass at this time. And then Microsoft said, we're aware that Control was mentioned as coming to Xbox Game Pass library and can confirm this was an error. While we are always updating the library and looking for new ways to provide our members with value and choice in their games, we do not have plans to bring Control to the library at this time. I think that it is coming, and like Spencer just let it out of the bag too early. And of course, they're not going to just go, yeah, sure. Like they want to control when that announcement gets.
I also wouldn't be surprised if it's coming to Game Pass, but like after E3. Like I think like that was
next year.
Like that was the big plan. Is like E3 is like also coming to Game Pass.
Yeah,
Control.
Right.
That was going to be one of their big announcements.
Or after the DLC is out.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised to see Control on Xbox Game. It's such a
either that or it's so in early talks about it coming to Game Pass that it's him saying anything could jeopardize that.
Yep. It's just such a specific game to fuck up. Right. Like if it wasn't coming to Game Pass, then why would the head of Xbox just be like, I mean, yeah, it's going to be on there. I get the feeling this is a thing where it is going to be on there. He wasn't supposed to say that. He thought it was coming maybe sooner or it was further along or whatever. But I really wouldn't be surprised if in January or February, because they've already got December is like packed. Yeah. But I really wouldn't be surprised if in January they were like, hey, just kidding, Control is coming. But you should go buy Control because
it's
Control
such a good fucking game.
It's so good. I mean, like it's such a good game. And I was actually, this is the first time that I ever heard, because I looked into it, that apparently it didn't sell very well. Apparently it was like Remedy has said that they didn't expect it to be like, a Call of Duty or anything, and they're happy with the amount of sales it's got, but it hasn't exactly blown the top off the charts. Like I think it was,
which is weird.
Like
it's such a good game.
I think it was like third place the week it came out, and then it dipped down in the rankings after that, almost off of the rankings entirely. So, but yeah, it's real good. It's real good. I can't wait for the DLC.
Yeah,
I forgot there was going to be 3 story DLCs for that game, and I want to play them.
I bought the deluxe edition where I get all that DLC.
You son of a bitch! You bought the season pass?
What? Yeah, I bought the when it came out, it had like a thing, and so you buy all of it together as one thing.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it this time. We're anti-season pass, though, right?
You're anti-season pass.
Oh, that's right. Well, I have no segue from there into the fact that YouTube is apparently changing some of their policies when it comes to violent. Actually, this is a good one.
I'm just okay. Yeah, good.
Apparently, previously, violent video games were kind of getting judged in a more harsh realm than, say, violent movie clips, violent movies, violent short films, because for some reason. And apparently YouTube is relaxing those standards for what counts as a monetizable, safe for advertisers type of thing, by putting video game violence into the same category as like movie violence or short filmed or scripted stuff. Which was apparently in its own box. Like, I don't ever look at this stuff, and I don't know enough about it. So But that's actually good news.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
The only caveat is that apparently if you just make like a supercut of nothing but the most violent parts of a video game, then that might still get dinged as kind of excessive.
Yeah.
So you remember that video they showed at the White House?
Yeah.
It was like the montage of all the violent stuff. Probably couldn't put that on YouTube.
What about a supercut of every Mortal Kombat fatality?
Yeah.
Back to back.
I was actually thinking of a supercut of like go through an entire level of Sniper Elite and then just put the X-ray kills all back to back. But that's good news, which, I mean, I stand by what I said last week. I still think that YouTube is going to fuck us with the COPPA thing, but that's at least semi-good news. Bad news, though, if you are one of the 4 or 5 people in the world who want to play Tron Evolution, the movie tie-in game for Tron... What was the movie called?
Tron Uprising? No.
Was it Evolution?
Yeah,
No.
It's Tron Evolution.
Was it? Okay.
I think so.
Whatever that Tron movie was with digital Jeff Bridges and
Yeah.
what's her face? You can't.
Oh, no.
Because apparently, even if you bought the game, if you have it on Steam, it had, I believe, Secure ROM, DRM built into it, that had some kind of server connection, and whatever the licensing that game had with Secure ROM has run out, so it will basically just not activate through that, and you cannot play it.
I mean, sucks.
You can still crack it. You can still go find a,
you can still play it on console.
Right, but you cannot play it on the PC, even if you got, like, apparently a couple years back they took it off of the Steam store, but I mean, usually if you have a game in your library, like
it stays until...
Yeah, like I've got Alan Wake and Deadpool and stuff that's been up and down, but this one, apparently, their crappy-ass DRM doesn't work anymore.
Wow.
So you just can't play it, which is a bunch of garbage.
It is a bunch of garbage. I'm
not exactly the biggest anti-DRM consumer in the world, but like that's pretty crappy. What's not crappy, or maybe it's crappy, I'm not entirely sure, is the Grand Theft Auto Casino that opened up a little while back. That everybody really likes. Well, apparently, if you're a fan of Grand Theft Auto Online, they're making a new heist in that casino.
Of course they are.
And it's going to be like a really big kind of convoluted thing that can go a number of different ways and be planned from a number of different ways. So it's supposed to have a lot more replayability than the heist where you just...
Anyone who didn't expect some type of heist in that casino...
Yeah?
Yeah, it's like as soon as they put a casino there, I'm like, okay, when's the heist for it coming out?
Yeah. What's also pretty cool, though, is that your team will be launching from a new business that you can buy that is a little arcade near the casino. So
nice.
There's going to be a little arcade there as well, which is pretty cool. What's also, speaking of Rockstar, we also got some data mining last week that showed that Mexico was probably a little bit more at one point involved in Red Dead 2 than it is now. So for anybody who doesn't know, I don't know if you know this, John, but so the map for Red Dead 2 is like Blackwater is where you start, and it's like at the south end of the map, and then everything else is above that. But like you can go south of Blackwater and find Armadillo.
All the places from Red Dead 1.
From Red Dead 1, and across there's the river, and across the river is Mexico, and I've actually seen people that have managed to hack their way in there.
Yeah, apparently there's like invisible walls, you can't go in there, but there's a way to
kind of bust your way through. Well, apparently in the files there were actually like half-done cities, like roughed out cities in Mexico, and also like mini-map data to show where those cities were on your map, and a few other things that indicate that Rockstar might be expanding the game into Mexico for the online, because I think that a lot of the stuff south of Blackwater is more for the online than anything else.
Yeah. The online starts you kind of where Red Dead 1 starts you.
Yeah, I think so. It is interesting to me to hope that they put that back in. I'm still going to hold out hope, not real hope. No, wait, it's on the PC now. Real hope that someday some group of modders is going to put Mexico together and then take all the assets from Red Dead Redemption 1 and plug them into the Red Dead Redemption 2 engine so that you could just play on through from the end of Red Dead Redemption 2 into Red Dead Redemption 1. And then when you get to the end, it'll be like, do you want to play Undead Nightmare? I think that would be pretty cool personally. But all right, we got some trailers this week. For some reason, Patrick Stewart is talking about Plants and Zombies.
Yeah.
There's a holiday update coming to Plants vs. Zombies Battle for the Neighborville. Did you all forget that came out this year?
Yes.
I did as well, called Festivus. And he is narrating this trailer. I'm not sure if he's narrating anything in the actual game itself, but it looks like there's like 2 or 3 new maps that they're adding in, along with presents and things that you can get.
It's also some like puzzles and stuff on the maps.
Yeah, I think that the big thing with Battle for Neighborville was that it had a lot more PvE co-op options to it.
Yeah.
It looks like they're adding a few more in for Christmas. So if you're into Plants vs. Zombies, there's a reason to play more of it. We got a trailer for MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries launch trailer. It looks very MechWarrior.
It does. It also looks very, if you have a computer, this probably is going to be processor intensive because they're destroying buildings, and buildings look completely environmental destructible. And
what was that card that NVIDIA sold for a while that was just a physics processor?
Oh, I don't remember.
That was like it was supported for like very specific games where it was all it did was do physics processing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I've never been. MechWarrior has always been a little bit more technical.
I'll be honest, I haven't played a MechWarrior game in a long time.
I think the last one I played was the. Did you and I play the Harebrained Schemes one, the turn-based one, where it was like a tactics game?
I don't know.
Like blasting them up on top of stuff. Looks very pretty though, you know. And let's see, last in the trailers, we got a trailer for Another Eden cross Persona 5. Persona 5 is going to Another Eden. I know you're asking, what is Another Eden? It is a phone game that is out in Japan and also the United States, and will be out next year on the Nintendo Switch. If you're a big fan of Persona 5, this might be worth taking a look, but boy, it looks like a real phony-ass phone game. Or just, it looks like very much like a phone game. All the kind of sprite work and the art looks real nice in it, but, you know, it looks like just one of those kind of build your team, come back every 2 hours and press the buttons type of thing. Which would be disappointing if it was the only Persona 5 news we got, but we also got the news that Persona 5 Royal is coming out in the United States on March 31st of next year. So we finally got a full-on release date and a collector's edition that has an art book, steel book, and a Joker mask.
Nice.
I already made my own Joker mask, so
did.
I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
It's falling behind the Grant
I see it.
thing. I do kind of want that Joker mask, though. Let's see. As a huge surprise to nobody, Campo Santo's Valley of the Gods, the game they're working on after Firewatch, has been delayed.
Yeah.
Pretty much it's on hold because they're working on Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah, because Valve is putting them on a bunch of, not just Half-Life Alyx, apparently. They're also working on other stuff as well.
Okay.
The rumor from what I did hear. But
anybody looking forward to Valley of the Gods, which looked interesting.
Yeah, it looked interesting. It sucks that it got put on hold, but you know.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, when Valve asks you to work on the new Half-Life game, you say yes. You don't just, I don't know. I'd say yes. Let's see.
Depends on what they wanted me to do.
Yep. No Rage Select podcast will be complete without talking about Fallout 76.
Hey.
If you ever wanted to try playing Fallout 76 and find out for yourself what everybody's complaining about, from December 12th to December 16th, you can. You can play the game totally for free. You can
but why
would
you?
That's an excellent question. Well, maybe you'll do it to get in on the the holiday stuff that they're putting out. Apparently, Fallout 76 had a Halloween thing that didn't actually come out because it wasn't finished or something. So the Nightmare Preceding Christmas, which was their Halloween update, is going to be going from December 11th to December 16th, and then Christmas challenges starting December 17th and going to January 6th. So,
okay.
If you want to find out just how bad it is, you can do so. I wouldn't recommend it. There's a lot of great games that came out this year. Play Untitled Goose Game or anything.
Go get Control.
Yeah, go buy Control. Or if you got an Xbox One, you can pre-order Vanquish. Well, probably not just yet, but apparently with the PC release of Vanquish, there's now some store listings showing that Vanquish is probably going to be showing up on the Xbox One with the 4K and the 60 FPS and all that.
Yeah, and
stuff.
they also say like there's going to be a Bayonetta.
Yeah, I think Bayonetta was also listed in there.
Is getting a re-release on Xbox or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, once they got viable PC versions of those two games, it's kind of only a matter of time to put them on those. And if you don't like games going from the console to the PC to the console, maybe you like games going from the console to the PC, as Horizon Zero Dawn may be doing.
Oh, okay.
There's a rumor. The guy that first rumored that Death Stranding would be on the PC eventually has now come out and said that he's got information that Horizon Zero Dawn is probably going to be coming out on the PC sometime pretty soon.
Okay.
Which would be great, because Horizon Zero Dawn is a great game. Last but not least, we got a couple of fun stories. Apparently, somebody hacked GoldenEye and put in the Elon Musk Cybertruck.
Ah, the Cybertruck.
Which looks exactly like it belongs in GoldenEye.
Yes, it does.
As well as a weird Elon Musk figure. And you can drive it around in GoldenEye if that's something that you want to do. It does look like it belongs in an N64 game. So, and last but not least, this isn't exactly fun, but I think it is interesting to note. But apparently, a congressman was spending campaign finance money on video games on Steam.
Son of a bitch.
Which is no good. So this is Duncan D. Hunter, a Republican from California, was part of an investigation where apparently he was kind of just living in the high life, and they were like, how are you affording all of this? When they looked into it, they found out that he was skimming money out of his re-election fund. But
was he spending it on like gems and cards and shit and the Steam and then like filtering it back?
Laundering it through Steam?
Yeah,
I don't think so. But it said he spent $1,300 worth of cash on Steam games. But then also there's other stuff in here like just movie tickets and Play-Doh and groceries and stuff like that. So it's what it says in the actual quote. So don't use your campaign money to buy video games. You just gotta get a job as a YouTuber, Duncan. You resign from the United States government and go onto YouTube. Get Twitch going. Start playing some Fortnite. Before you know it, people will pay you to play video games.
Yeah. So. Get on Mixer. Yeah. That seems to be all the rage now.
Yeah. See if Microsoft will sponsor you on Mixer.
Yeah, and maybe they'll come on your channel and say things are coming out for their Game Pass that aren't actually coming out for their Game Pass.
Bernie Sanders has a Twitch channel, so
he does.
At this point, just do that. Do that, dude. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We're going to answer some questions. So everybody stick around, and we will see you in a minute.
Hi.
And it's time for questions. John, are you ready for questions?
Sure.
You're always so ready for questions. One of these days, I'm just gonna jump out at you and just be like,
Hold on. I'll give you the answer you want.
Okay.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
No. Oh God. Oh.
Okay. Well, let's not get the cops called on me again. No, I feel like one of these days I'm gonna when you come over to record the podcast, I'm just gonna be waiting by the door with 2 microphones, and as soon as you open the door, just be like, "Hey, John, are you ready for questions?" And he goes, Oh, wow, you got me that time. So, mailrightside.com is the email address to send your questions into to get them answered. Our first question this week comes in from Ben. Ben says, "Hey, Jeff and John, do you think the new Tomb Raider games made Lara Croft more or less interesting?" I'm sorry, Lara Croft more or less interesting. The stories have more depth, but based on the 2 that I played, she seems blander and has less personality. Is personality the price you pay for depth? Do you think Joanna Dark from the Perfect Dark series would be remade the same way if she came back? Do you think video game auteurs should have someone on hand to tell them no? I know you love Kojima, but he and other so-called auteurs often feel like they would benefit from working with someone who can help them refine their visions. What do you think What would be God, Ben? These are like 4 questions. What would be on your best video games of 2019 shopping list for Christmas? And don't just shill for Game Pass. Love you guys. Hope the rumor you're not financially viable isn't true. That's from Ben.
For that last question, have you heard of Game Pass? No, no, I'm joking. Anyways, so let's start with the first question.
Okay. So, do you think the new Tomb Raider games made Lara Croft more or less interesting? I would say the same amount of interesting because I've always been uninterested in Lara Croft.
Yeah, I don't think she's ever been an super interesting character.
Yeah, I mean, granted,
I feel like she may have lost some personality in that the original Lara Croft was always a little
Lara,
whatever.
Lara Croft,
whatever.
They get all mad when you say it wrong.
I don't care. Let them get mad. Let them yell at me. I feed on it, unlike you. But no, it's fine.
It's true.
But no, in the original she was a little cheeky, she was a little sarcastic, there was a little bit of a sarcastic nature to her personality. And in these it's very straightforward. Like there's less of that.
Let me ask you a question. You played the first one, the first of the reboots, right?
I played the first 2.
You played both of the first 2?
Yeah.
I mean, did you play the third one?
No, I didn't play the third one.
Okay. I only played the first one, and then I kind of got bored with the second one.
Yeah.
I've never. I'm going to go back to what I said, whereas I've never considered her to be a very interesting protagonist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think she was ever interesting. I'm just saying, I feel like she just has less personality.
Well, but then I also never played from the box art and from everything that I've heard. I feel like the original ones went more into her backstory the longer they went along.
Yeah.
I played like half of the first one where it was just like, I'm raiding tombs. That's my I'm a tomb raider. Even in the movies, or I don't know. I've never. The first one was interesting because she had to fight to survive, and she was new.
Yeah,
and that was a different take on Lara Croft that I felt like was better because in the other ones she seemed like just indestructible quipperson. So
yeah, I mean she was definitely female Indiana Jones in the original games, and this it's very much like they're trying to in the newer ones. It's very much trying to set her up with her own character.
Yeah, that's
less that witty, sarcastic, cheeky Indiana Jones character. It's someone different.
Yeah. I don't know. She doesn't even have in the first game. She doesn't even have a reaction when you fight a T-Rex. It's just like, got to fight this T-Rex.
She's like, well, it's Tuesday.
Yep. It's like, eh. So I don't know if I'm qualified to answer this question because 1, I'm not familiar with Lara Croft, and 2, I've never thought that she was very interesting.
His second, he did bring up Perfect Dark and Joanna Dark at some point. Obviously, he missed the remake of Perfect Dark Zero.
Yes.
That was not a good game.
I don't. Again, Perfect Dark was a game that I didn't really play, and then by the time they got around to re-releasing, and then there was a sequel, right, on the Xbox One? Did they was that a remake or a sequel? Because I know they re-released the first one.
Well, there's Perfect Dark that was on the N64.
Okay.
On the N64.
Right.
And then there's Perfect Dark Zero, which was a Xbox 360 launch title.
Okay.
Which was a prequel / reboot of the franchise.
Okay. That's
and if I'm not mistaken, the story was even one of the versions of the script for the story was written by Warren Ellis, but he wasn't the final writer. There were 3 other writers that came in and rewrote stuff afterwards.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, and I could be entirely 100% wrong on that one.
Did you play those games?
I did.
Do you think that I don't really know very much about her.
I felt they tried to give with Perfect Dark Zero, they tried to give her a more angsty, edgy personality.
Mm-hmm.
But
a lot of this comes down to Ben. I feel like with these first 2 questions, I don't think there's anything inherent about the character of either Lara Croft or Joanna Dark that would keep somebody from writing them well. It's just if they're written well, right? There's nothing inherent about a lady running around raiding tombs that doesn't mean that you can't write it well. It's just, do you write it well? We could totally have a good Joanna Dark, totally have a really compelling Lara Croft. It's just, how is it written? Who's writing it, and is it any good? So, because I like the first Tomb Raider, but then it was just I don't know. Tomb Raider's never been compelling. You know what? A good comparison would be Uncharted and how Nathan Drake is like, if you took Uncharted and you swapped the Nathan Drake model for Lara Croft, I feel like they could be Tomb Raider games. You'd have to, rework the characters a little bit, right? But like, there's nothing about Uncharted that couldn't have been a weird Tomb Raider reboot in another lifetime. But the reason I think that Nathan Drake works so well is because he's very, very charming. Like, he has more personality, I think, than Lara Croft does. And I don't know why that is. It could be that I'm the sexist. It could just be that Naughty Dog has better writers than Crystal Dynamics does. But I don't think there's any reason that any character in any video game couldn't be written as, you could write a dating simulator with Nemesis from Resident Evil 3 and it would be fine if it was written well. Like, there's nothing stopping you from writing a game outside
you hear
of
that, Capcom? Jeff wants money.
That's right.
Nemesis dating simulator.
Nemesis dating simulator.
He's got the ideas.
I want Nemesis and Mr. X with a bad wig to go on a date and just in the middle of Raccoon City while the zombies are destroying everything. And then you've got to, just got to figure out how to find love in Raccoon City.
And have at least one scene where Nemesis has a mustache.
Okay. On his crooked nose?
Yeah.
So the crooked mustache goes like the wrong way off his crooked nose?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those blog posts where they put the big anime eyes and then like the red hash marks on like sharks?
Yeah.
I just want that, but with Nemesis instead. But yeah, there's no reason why any of these couldn't be great characters. Do you think a video game auteur should have someone on hand to tell them no?
Here's what I'm going to say. I'm okay with video game auteurs having complete free autonomy and to do the vision that they want. I'm also okay with someone on hand to tell them no. I don't think it's a requirement, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because I even think that there are some, I think there are some people who benefit from that, and there are some people who don't benefit from it. Who, if you put someone telling them no, for the wrong reason, who tells them no for the wrong reason, it creates a problem.
Right.
So I mean, I think it's just who do you work with? I feel like there are some auteurs who they need limitations on them, but that limitation doesn't necessarily have to be a person telling them no. It just has to be hey, we can't do that because we physically can't do that. And them going, okay, well, let's try to figure something out.
Yeah, the weird thing for me is trying to think of like non-Kojima auteurs for that, because I feel like this question, Ben, I'm not saying that this is where it's going, but from the other part of your question where he says, I know you love Kojima, but he and other so-called auteurs often feel like they would benefit from working with someone who can help them refine their visions. Like, I think that I personally like Death Stranding, and I like the way it is, and I don't think that having somebody be like, make it shorter, make it more action-packed, nobody wants a game where you carry a bunch of boxes on your back. I don't think that would have benefited that particular game. But then you start trying to think of like, who are the other auteurs, video game auteurs? Like, what other auteurs can you think of? Like I was
Peter
saying,
Molyneux.
Yeah, but nobody. Peter Molyneux could. And again, this goes back to the writing thing. I don't think there's anything specifically endemic to a specific personality type that means that you can apply a blanket statement to it. So, like Molyneux probably really could use somebody there to tell him, we can't do that. That's a bad idea or whatever.
Yeah.
But at this point, I feel like Molyneux's gotten to the point where
He's kind of out. He's kind of in his like I'm retired kind of phase.
But like I would say that I think that Death Stranding was exactly what Kojima wanted to make, and I think it's an interesting game. I don't think it's for everybody. I don't think it has to be for everybody. On the other hand, Ken Levine definitely needed somebody to tell him stop when BioShock Infinite was being made, because the way that their development process was set up in their pipeline, where they made like 2.5 games worth of content and just threw away.
Well, yeah, there were people. Yeah, there were people that said that there were 2 completely, maybe not 100% made, but done games.
Right,
2.5 completely done games.
Yeah,
before what ended up being BioShock Infinite, and I mean, you can even look at the trailers and demos from E3s and stuff to see the difference.
I was in a closed door when I went to E3 and saw a bunch of stuff that was just straight up wasn't in the game. On the other hand, would it be helpful to have somebody behind Swery telling him, no, you need to make Deadly Premonition more like Resident Evil? I mean, wasn't it you that told me that the combat sequences in Deadly Premonition were added on at a later date due to, like, you can't just have a game where you just drive around and have weird conversations at diners. That's not a video game. You know? So, or Suda51, like, I don't know how much... Like the problem here comes in that there's no blanket statement. It's a case by case basis and a game by game basis. You know, it's possible that I think that for Kojima, there's like I don't think anybody talks about pre MGS5 Kojima when it was fine. You gave Kojima his budget. He made a game. Look at Death Stranding. It was like, what, 2 years, 3 years? Yeah. Like, it wasn't in development hell. It came out. It's feature complete. It's not buggy. It's not, like, whether you think the game is fun or not is a question and something to talk about, but it's not like an incomplete game.
Yeah, it's not broken.
Right. Whereas MGS5, like, you know, we got all the information that there was that whole other section of the game, and then I don't know if I ascribe to the idea that Kojima brought in all the Hollywood people because he wanted to fuck Konami on the bill for this game because they wouldn't let him do what he wanted to, or that there was some kind of internal strife there. But, like, you know, MGS4 was announced, developed, and published. MGS3 was announced and developed and published. Like, the production on Zone of Enders was fine. Like, Kojima's not a person who has this track record of being... Of delivering incomplete or fucked up games, right? Like, the games he delivers are playable, functional, and generally speaking, outside of 5, tend to do well. So,
and again, I go back to the thing. I think again, I don't ascribe to the fact that I think he was trying to fuck Konami out. I think he went, if I'm going to do this, I want to work with the people I want to work with. And I've always wanted to work with Kiefer Sutherland because I like him as an actor.
Sure.
So I'm going to get him on the, you know, I wanted to work with this person. I'm going to bring them on.
Sure.
You know, like, I honestly feel like that was it. Like, he was going to go, I'm going to shoot for the sky until they tell me to stop.
And I don't know. And so then maybe the biggest question here comes in that, like, okay, we could talk about it from different people, but if we use the example of Kojima, if you brought somebody in with the power to tell Kojima, you can't make a game about carrying suitcases around to get Facebook likes, that's what Death Stranding is, right? So if somebody said, like, no, it needs to be more like Metal Gear, and he's like, well, I don't want to make Metal Gear games. I don't want to make any more Metal Gear games. That was kind
of the point of 5, was like, I don't want to make any more Metal Gear games.
Right. You know, or Silent Hills, or sign on to Silent Hills, or things like that. Like, if you had somebody come in to try to, like, steer that game into a direction that wasn't what he wanted to do, it's so weird because I think that Death Stranding is a very good video game, and that it's got all the things that video games have in it. It's got a progression system where you get more power to do stuff, and then the game adds more challenges to negate some of the power that you've gotten. It's got a difficulty curve. Yeah. It's not just the same thing over and over and over again. As you keep playing the game, there are more enemies, they're harder, there's more challenges. So I wonder, like, what would be the thing that got taken away from somebody saying no on that game? Like, would it be the core mechanic of carrying stuff around? And if that was the case, well, then it would just be saying no to the game premise entirely. I don't know. It's a weird question because I just don't think it's a thing where you can say blanket statement, auteurs need to be controlled.
Yeah, it's definitely a from person to person situation. Because, like we talked about, like, again, looking at the example of Peter Molyneux, sometimes a lot of his problem was he would publicly talk about things before they were like, when they were just in the concept phase, he would publicly talk about them as if they were done features.
Yeah.
And his team would be like, but we haven't done that. That's just concept. That we're not there yet, sir. Why are you telling people this?
Yep.
Like, I think that was the problem with Molyneux in a lot of his stuff. But it's you know, he definitely needed someone there to go, hey, shut up.
Or, like, I can only imagine if you're going down this road, what it would be like to have somebody looking over Suda51's shoulder when he's making Killer 7 and going, like, you can't make this game on rails. You can't put this weird rail shooter with the wait, Suda, what are you doing? This game makes no sense. You can't make this game. This game is, you say no, and then we don't get something weird like Killer 7, or, you know, let it die, right?
Yeah.
With fucking Uncle Death and so in a lot of cases I think that I think for my money the biggest example of auteur needs control is Ken Levine because of the amount of money that it took to make BioShock Infinite. And I like BioShock Infinite, but it seemed like a very wasteful development time that then just got like wrapped right up at the end in a hurry. So that's a place where I would say I think that guy needed more control. And then I think that who's the guy from Remedy?
Oh, Sam Lake.
Sam Lake. Like, I think he's an auteur, right? I would definitely call him an auteur game director. Like, his games have a very specific kind of like feel and style and things like that. But I don't think that he really needs control. I mean, that guy puts out. This is the second time I've done that. That guy puts out. I mean, they've made the games like Quantum Break took a long time to make, but I feel like a lot of that was the live action. Part of it.
The actors locked in and
because Control was announced like 2 years ago, right? And they were probably working on it for a year before that. But like, it wasn't. I mean, 3 years to put out a feature complete 12 to 20 hour video game is not. That's standard, right? I think that's what we expect in the game.
Yeah, I think the worst for Remedy was Alan Wake, which there was a 10-year.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That game was
because I heard that game was originally going to be like open world.
Yeah, it was going to be this big open world game where the weather also was not randomized, but depending on your character's state of mind in the game, like there was going to be multiple choices and things you could do.
Yeah.
But then like depending on your character's state of mind, weather things would happen. Like the weather would get fucked up. Like if he was like really stressed or whatever, like there'd be tornadoes tearing through the town, and they just kind of realized that they were losing track of what the game was supposed to be by trying to figure out all these different
trying to fit all the features that they wanted in.
And then so they slowly started removing stuff and kind of figuring out what the game was going to be, and then went, oh well, it's not going to be open world because this scene wouldn't work if it's open world, or this sequence that we really want to have wouldn't work if it's open world. And unfortunately, because of that, though, certain things remained in the game from when it was open world, like the whole
driving sequences,
collect 100 thermoses or whatever. Like that was from the open world thing. They just. Yep. Like there's a lot of so it's not like every game he makes is. But also, I feel like Sam Lake is less of a development lead, even though he does lead it. He's more of just the writer. Like he writes the story, and then and then other people kind of come in and make the game out of that story. Yeah, but,
I mean, even with Kojima, it's worth remembering that Kojima is a control freak, but games aren't made by one person.
Yeah.
So, or some indie games are, but these types of games that we're talking about are not made by one person.
Yeah, they're made by whole teams of people, and So.
Oh my God, there's so many of these. Real briefly, what would you put on? What would be on your best video games 2019 shopping list for Christmas?
If you have a Switch,
Goose Game,
Untitled Goose Game, Link's Awakening.
Didn't play it, or outside of the dojo for it.
For PlayStation 4, probably Control,
MK11, Outer Wilds, Outer Worlds, RE2 remake.
This is for both Xbox and PS4.
Yeah,
because Outer Wilds, for example, is exclusive to the Xbox.
Oh no, it came out in December on the PS4, I believe. Or if it didn't come out, it should be out by Christmas, I believe.
Okay.
Trying to think of the other stuff.
Yeah,
it's just
Outer Worlds.
So many things that came out this year.
RE2.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of the ones that I finished. Judgment, it was probably worth buying.
I enjoyed Judgment, yeah. If you like the Yakuza style games but want something a little bit more smaller and more
streamlined,
more streamlined and a little less out there.
Okay.
Because sometimes, like the Yakuza games, not Yakuza 7, but the Yakuza games, sometimes they can get a little super silly.
Yeah.
And while there definitely are moments of that in Judgment, it doesn't ever go anywhere near the level that Yakuza does.
Okay.
But also it doesn't take itself seriously either. But it's the stakes aren't as high and it's not trying to be. I put
Sekiro on that list. I mean, if you're into that sort of game, you're going to know if you're into that sort of game. Not if you're just casual, but not if you're a filthy casual. If you've gotten good, then you can play Sekiro.
Yeah.
I really like Death Stranding. I think Death Stranding is a game that's interesting to play as long as you know what you're getting into, right? Don't get it if you're looking for a new Metal Gear game. Like, that's not what it is. But I like what I got out of it.
I'm enjoying what I'm playing right now of Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm still kind of very early on in the game. I mean, you know where I'm at. We talked about it the last time I was over here. I'm not any further than that.
Okay.
And it's
you're still in the first area.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
I'm in technically the second area, but the beginning of the second area.
Oh, right. That's true. That is true. Yeah, I think we'll just go with that. We answered 4 questions from Ben, so let's just keep going. Let's see. Julio writes in and says, "Hey, Jeff and John, I like visual novels. I know the genre from the outside seems like a waifu/harem simulator, but there are a lot of good ones out there with great stories and interesting mechanics. I also like a lot of adventure games/interactive fiction games like Until Dawn, Life is Strange, Dreamfall, and Detroit Become Human. However, there's still a mindset from a lot of people that these don't count as real games. That games should be interactive and that walking around while moving to the next scene shouldn't be counted as gameplay. So, Rage Lords, do you think that there should be a criteria for interactivity to be counted as a real game? And if there should, what should it be?" Sorry for the long question, and that's from Julio. That was a perfectly fine question.
Yeah, it was a perfectly fine question.
You didn't ask 4 questions, Ben.
So, I mean, I'll say this: I consider visual novels games. I don't care what anyone says; they're games.
Sure.
If you have any interactivity, whether it's walking around so that it triggers the next dialogue or cutscene, like even if it's a walking simulator like Gone Home or whatever, those are games. I don't care what you say; those are games. If you are interacting with the story in any way, shape, or form, those are games. Once you get into that territory, then you're basically saying games like Dragon's Lair or Space Ace are not video games, even though they totally are, because they're literally just button presses.
Or, I come from an era where of Zork, where it was just you reading a bunch of stuff and then typing a bunch of stuff in, and there were no graphics whatsoever.
Yeah,
I think that's a video game.
Text-based adventures.
Yep.
Those are games. It's if you are interacting with the content in a way that you cannot get from a book or from hell, even fucking choose your own adventure books or games. I don't fucking care what you say. Those are games. But I'm just saying, if you are interacting in a way that you cannot get from a movie or just reading a standard novel, then it is a fucking game.
Yep. I agree. Well, see, so whenever this question comes up, my whole thing is the problem with declaring any one thing is or is not a video game, any, visual novels are not video games, is that as far as I can tell, the problem then becomes who is the arbiter, right? Like, is Julio the arbiter of what is a video game? Because Julio believes that visual novels are games, Is Detroit Human not a video game because there's no free action? Detroit Become Human has all kinds of branching pathways and alternate hell. Detroit Become Human has more choice about what happens, about how your actions affect the end of the game than Red Dead Redemption 2 does. Like, there are multiple endings to Detroit Become Human. Then there's basically one ending for Red Dead Redemption 2, or is it God of War 2018 or Spider-Man, right? Like, visual novels can have a lot more split. Like, the thing is that I'm not the biggest fan of visual novels, but I'm also not the biggest fan of tower defense games or sports, right? Like, I'm the biggest fan of racing games in the world, but I don't say that they're not video games just because I don't like them. And again, the problem comes down to if you start drawing lines about what is or is not a video game, then the question becomes who gets to draw the lines, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it kind of goes that question of who gets to be called a gamer,
right?
Like, did you play a video game? Did you enjoy that video game? You're a gamer. Like, end of story. Like, that's it. That's the only requirement for being a gamer is you played a video game and enjoyed it. Hey, you're a gamer now. Or you get to claim it. And to be a game, all it has to do is have some sort of form of interactivity. Guess what? It's a video game.
I mean, it for me, this question was settled long ago for me in the what is art question. And it's everything. Everything is what is art. It's everything, because once you start drawing lines, then what stops the next person out there? Like, if you declare that only X people are gamers, that like if you just play cell phone games, well, you're not a gamer. And it's like, well, what happens when the next person comes up behind you and says, if you play anything that's not a hardcore RPG, you're not a gamer. If you play games on Medium, you're not a gamer. If you don't play online games, you're not a gamer. If you're not platinuming every game you play, then you're not like, there's too many criteria and everybody's got their own idea. So I'm a very inclusive guy. I'm just like, so everybody come into the tent, everybody get under here. Video games are great and wonderful, and I don't care if it's Candy Crush or The Witcher 3. Come on in and let's all have fun, because I also have very little, I can see very little positive effect in kicking people out of the fandom, right? Of saying, well, you're not a real gamer. It's like telling people that they're not a real, like, comic book fan, or I don't know. This kind of goes back to that thing that started several years ago where it was like, the fake geek girl, right? And it's like, you don't really like comics. You're just into this because you've seen Marvel movies and blah, blah, blah. And my answer has always been like, let the women in. Let them come in. Maybe you could talk to them and then you could put your face on their face and then you could get married and you could have comic book parties and teach your children about Iron Man. Who knows? Like, you probably can't marry all of them. And I don't know. Maybe they're nefariously pretending to like Captain America in order to trick you so that they feel good. Is that the narrative? I don't even know what it is, but I'm just like, I don't care. Everybody get in here. There's nothing to be gained from kicking people out and being like, get out of here. You're not for real. You're fake. You get out of here.
Gatekeeping is bullshit.
I'm not a fan of it. Maybe you are, but just remember that if you ascribe to a gatekeeping philosophy, someday somebody may come up behind you and gatekeep you right out of the fandom as well, because you're not hardcore enough to be in there. Have you played a new game in the last 2 years? Nope. Well, then get the fuck out of here. Or, I don't know. That's just where I am. I see no benefit to it, because I don't imagine a world where only the purest gamers can be called gamers. I don't know why I'm a pirate now, but it just doesn't seem like it has a lot of benefit.
Because only the purest gamers are pirates, because they don't pay for their games.
That's right.
Pay for your games.
Let's see. Mauricio writes in and says, hey, Jeff and John, Mauricio here. Won't be back for the next week podcast. I'm going to New Zealand for vacation. We'll be gone for a while. Going to do some bungee jumping, motorbiking, zip lining, etc.
Sounds fun.
We'll show you some pictures when I get back. Okay, Mauricio. Here's my Q&A. I started watching the newest HBO miniseries Watchmen, and I'm loving it. Then I heard it's a one-season show only, and there's no plan for a second season since the story was only 8 episodes. I was saddened at first, but then realized that since it's only one season, there's a beginning and an end, and no unanswered questions that most shows have at their endings. So was there a game, movie, TV show franchise that you would like to be ended soon and not have sequels? Thanks. P.S. Please don't say The Last of Us 2. Okay. I won't. But you know what I'm thinking. So what do you think about stuff that should have been
done in
sooner? One? I think we had a very similar question to this on the last week's podcast.
Well, I wasn't on last week's podcast.
That's true. What do you watch a lot of TV shows.
I do.
You've seen a lot of TV shows that I feel like you could probably say shouldn't have had more than one season or 2 seasons or whatnot.
Well, that's where it kind of gets weird, because like there's a lot of shows that I've watched that only have 1 season, and some of those I feel like deserved it. Some of those I feel like unjustly only had 1 season and should have had more.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some that if I based it just on the first season, I would have said no, but then they found their... I mean, there's a ton of shows that like found their voice in season 2, or in some weird cases, season 3.
Sure.
Shows that I haven't, like, there's a ton of shows that every time someone recommends a show to me, it's like, oh, you would really like Parks and Rec. Oh, okay. But don't watch the first season. Just skip to season 2. Everything you don't need to know. Season 1 is garbage. Just skip right to season 2 and you'll be fine.
I don't know if I go that far. It's also only 5 episodes.
I know, but I'm just that's the thing is like, people like, and I use Parks and Rec because that's the one that pops in my head the most. But there's a lot of shows that people are like, I watched the first couple episodes, I didn't really like it. It's like, yeah, but the entire first season is garbage. Wait till you get to season 2. That's when it starts getting good. And it's like,
I don't got time for that.
Yeah, I forget what show it was. There's one that was like someone was like, you have to get to season 3. You have
Was
to.
it Arrow?
Oh no. But they were like, oh, if you once you get to season 3, you're good. Matter of fact, if you want to just skip to season 3, it's totally fine. And I was just like, no.
I don't want.
No, I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I can't remember what show it was. But so I mean, I don't know like what I would.
It's hard to say because, well, can you think of a show or a movie or a game where the first one was great, and then when the second season sequel whatever came out, and you were just like, good, no.
Well, I know a show that while I didn't think the first season was great, I felt like it should have. Actually, I can't think of one show that I felt shouldn't have gone past its first season.
All right,
Heroes.
Okay.
I thought the first season was okay. Like it wasn't super great, but it wasn't bad either.
Mm-hmm.
That second season and even the third season after it, it's fucking garbage.
I remember liking the first season. I remember watching the second season. I don't remember anything about.
Well, the problem with the second season is they went, oh, people really like the first season. We don't really know where the show is going.
Right.
So let's just find a way to reset everyone back to square one and have them remake the first season from scratch in season 2 with all of the same characters. And it's like, I already watched this.
Yeah.
I don't need to see it a second time. I want these, you fucked up your show, kind of thing.
Yep.
God, I hated the second season of Heroes.
I'm trying to think. I see. The thing is that I don't watch that many TV the TV shows that I watch. I've liked all of the seasons of.
Yeah.
Right, like I'm watching season 4 of Rick and Morty because I like Rick and Morty. I'm watching season 15 or whatever of South Park because I like South Park. Like, I'm having a hard time thinking of ones that I wish that they had wrapped up without dragging. Well, the problem is that I had a bunch of answers last week.
I feel like Inhumans should have stopped after episode 1.
Like last week, I was talking about how I wish John Wick had stopped at one film. I haven't really felt 2 or 3 because one was
2. I haven't seen 3 yet, but I love 2. I have 3. Like it's on. I have it on Blu-ray. It's in my stack. I just haven't gotten to that.
So many things John has. This is literally movies that haven't been watched yet.
I do have a lot of movies that I haven't watched yet.
There's a lot of horror movies from back in the 80s, like Nightmare on Elm Street probably could have stopped at 1. But see, I with John Wick, I don't know it. The parts of John Wick that I liked were the internal struggle of John Wick, not the weird world of assassination. And then they started focusing on that more, and I was like, I'm not that interested in this part.
See, that's where we're different. Like I actually was really hooked into it, but then like the weird idea of the Continental, that place, like really made me go, I kind of want more of this, but I kind of want like a TV series spinoff that's just based on the Continental with no John Wick in it at all.
Yeah.
And then like, I think they're actually working on that, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it got canceled. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's like, then I heard John Wick. He was like, okay, I'm on board for more John Wick. Come on, let's get more Continental. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So I am a little bit the opposite in that regard, but I also was very drawn in with the same things you like about it.
And then last week I also talked about how I think Souls should have stopped at 1, or then done different projects instead of making like continuity sequels to Dark Souls. Like the way that it went Demon Souls and then Dark Souls, I would have liked for them to go more in that direction of like not connecting it to the previous thing, so they didn't have to have hooks and callbacks to.
But call it something Souls and.
Well, there was the rumor was there was a game called Dragon Souls. So it was going to be Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Dragon Souls, and that they were all going to kind of be because you've seen them.
Yeah.
You sat here and watched them.
I did.
Like Demon Souls and Dark Souls are not the exact same game, but they have a lot of connective DNA between them. And then taking the ideas of Dark Souls and making a kind of another remix game that maybe like touched on the cycle and death and all that. I mean, all those games, Bloodborne, Sekiro, they all touch on that. Like, I think that the idea of rebooting that universe instead of just relying on the fact that people like Dark Souls so much that they had to continue through the continuity of Dark Souls, that I just didn't work for me very well. I don't know. I don't know that I have a lot of answers to this.
Yeah, I don't think I do either.
Mostly because I think that my brain has forgotten the stuff that I didn't care for, and I don't know that I would watch an entire season of something.
Yeah, I know there's a couple of movie franchises where I've been like, they should have stopped after the first one or after the second one or whatever.
Fantastic Four. This should stop before the first one.
I just want to see a good Fantastic Four movie, and I've yet to get that.
Ghost Rider. She never made this.
Actually, I kind of like the first one. I didn't see the second one.
What?
But I kind of liked the first one. I didn't hate it. It was a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. Nicolas Cage was Nicolas Caging it up, but it wasn't as terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Like I said, I'm sure that there's movies that I can think of that I'm just like, they should have stopped after the first one.
Force Unleashed probably didn't need a sequel.
Oh no, it did not need a sequel at all. Like I kind of wish that instead of doing a storyline sequel with the same character, that they had maybe done a storyline sequel focusing on something else.
Yeah,
like either to have it be in a different timeline or different time frame or different time period or whatever, or have it be focused on a different character, or something like that. I think that would have been good.
Yeah, me too. All right, well, let's take some Discord questions. Kate Josie wrote in last week, and I didn't read it because it's a little heavy, so we're gonna tackle it this week. Saved it just for you, John.
Oh, thank you.
Kate Josie writes in, Dear Jeff and John, this is a bit of a sad question, so I apologize. Last night,
give me the sad one. Great, Jeff.
That's right. Last night we had our last class. My girlfriend and a lot of our friends were at my house celebrating. We smoked and drank, and we were feeling really good. Suddenly, a person that we have been friends with for over a year starts spouting off this homophobic rant about how he doesn't like it when gay people, quote, are all in his face, unquote, about it, just being openly gay. It ruined the party. Needless to say, I had to hold back the tears and save face. I had an existential crisis over the entire time, hung out with him while being openly gay. We all feel like we lost a friend that last night. I guess the question is, has anything like this ever happened to you? This was the first that this has ever happened to me. Thanks for being great, because Rage Select is still a big part of my life and is important to me, and that's from Kate Josie. I don't think I've ever had like there have been catalysts, but a lot of the friends that I have cut out, it's like it was a long time coming, and I was just kind of putting up with it, and then one day it was like, do I really need this person in my life? And then just, but I haven't had to deal with anything quite like that, I don't think, where you thought you knew a person and then suddenly they just kind of went sideways on you.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had anything like that. I mean, I definitely have had some friends that like I considered like people that I consider like my best friend or whatever.
Yeah.
And like so much so that I was like in their wedding party and lived with them, like they were roommates and things like that. And and then kind of having a bit of a falling out that it was just very much the fallout of that very much lowered that friendship to the point of that we acknowledge each other, but we don't really talk ever. So I mean, yeah, I have some friendships like that, but not anything where they've come out like said racist or homophobic shit or just revealed their true self that I'd never seen before or anything. I've never had anything like that. It's
also hard for me to even come up with a equivalent, because I'm a straight white guy. Like there's very little to say. Like the idea of somebody railing against like the very person that you are about like things that are intrinsic to you. I don't know. It's very difficult for me to imagine a scenario where anybody would even be like, I fucking hate about straight people, and I'd be like, I don't know, lots of stuff, straight people, whatever, it's vanilla kind of. I mean, I did, I guess you could say like back in high school, because I didn't date at all in high school. Like I very didn't like really show interest in girls or guys or anything. Yeah. It just kind of wasn't something I was preoccupied with. So everyone else was like, oh man, I'm trying to get a girlfriend or whatever, and I'd just be like, all right, whatever, cool, man. And then like I had the one guy who was a friend who started picking on me because I don't have a girlfriend. And it'd be like, look at John over there, sad sack, doesn't even have a fucking girlfriend, loser, blah 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 blah. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not even trying to get a girlfriend, what's your excuse? And then he left me alone after that little because everyone started laughing at him. But he was also a piece of shit anyways. Like he wasn't really a friend, he was just a guy who hung out in my group of friends. Yeah. And that was kind of his MO, is to pick someone in the group and then just kind of be a shit to them. Yeah. To make fun of them, to make himself look better. And if they
pushed back, he would stop bothering them and move on to the next person.
Yeah.
That he felt that he could get away with making fun of, and that was like high school. Like that's.
Yeah.
Once I got out of high school, I never saw that person again. So
one of the biggest things I think with being an adult is that I tend to vet the people around me a little bit.
Yeah.
To make sure that I know who they are.
Yeah.
And so I haven't had to do that for a long time where it's just been, I've been choosy about the people that I allow into my life, and then everybody else can kind of just go sit and spin. But I can imagine with, mixed groups of friends or whatnot. I'm also not the most social person in the world when I'm out and about, so it's not like I spend a lot of time going to parties and talking to people that I don't know and then having them insult me. So I'm afraid that I don't really have very much that can slot into that kind of thing. But that does suck. That guy sucks.
Yeah.
So good get rid of him. Get rid of him. That was a good move.
Yeah.
Let's see. I Hate Everyone So Shut Up says, hey, Jeff and John, has there ever been a game that you finished and felt like you lived a whole lifetime? I feel that way with Persona 1 through 4. Once I was done, I felt like I had experienced a lifetime in 80 to 100 hours. I always feel different about life after playing a Persona game. That's from I Hate Everyone So Shut Up. I don't. The problem that I have is that whenever there's a long game like that, I tend to marathon it.
Yeah.
So it's not like I've been playing Persona 4 every day for 6 months. It's like I played Persona 4 for 3 weekends and ignored my health. And what was it when you smell bad and you don't shower?
Tuesday? No, I'm joking. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, that was good. That was solid. I just tossed that one right to you. Hygiene. That's what I was
It's kind of just my answer to everything is Tuesday.
So I don't know that I really have played the same game off and on or in any way, shape, or form for that amount of time. I get tired of games quickly. Like I have to force myself through 80-hour JRPG. I don't know if I've actually ever successfully finished an 80-hour JRPG. I think like 40 maybe, but like 80 hours is just too much. That's too much video game, man. That's the Witcher shit. Like I can't play the same game for that long. I get bored. I mean, I would get bored of a good game that long.
Yeah, it's weird because it's I have a thing where like I can play a game for a really long time.
Yeah.
Like multiple days at a time because I do play that. But it's the longer a game is, the more you risk me giving up playing it if something that interests me more comes along.
Sure.
Like I played a lot of Greedfall, for example. Mm-hmm. I played a lot of Greedfall. If it wasn't for the fact that my console fucking died, I probably would have beaten Greedfall.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I stopped playing it was because better games came out and my console died.
Right.
So it was very much like, I didn't enjoy playing that game. I don't think it's a great game.
I know. You kept coming over here and talking about... hell, I was talking to you like a week ago where you were like playing WWE 2K20 even though you were having no fun with it and it was bad.
Well, then it just come out. It literally was the day it came out. But yeah, so yeah, no, it's I will, if there is nothing else to play that is good that I am that I want to play, I will totally just sit there and keep playing a very long based game. Like it's just the way I am.
Yeah.
Even a game if it just mildly interests me. Mm-hmm. But the second a more interesting game comes on, which I think is actually the reason I may not end up going back to Jedi Fallen Order, is because I'm way more interested in Death Stranding than I am Jedi Fallen Order, because I played enough of Jedi Fallen Order to kind of go, yeah, this is not what I want in this type of game, but Death Stranding's at least got an interesting story going on. Mm-hmm. I kind of don't care what the story's going on in Fallen Order because I kind of see where it's all going, and it takes place in a time period where I know none of that shit's going to succeed. So, I'm moving on.
Yep. I prefer to play lots of different games. So something that is that long really has to be amazing. Like I got a third of the way into Persona 5 and was just like, I can't keep playing this. I can't just keep playing the same game over and over again. Like, especially when there's new games coming out all the time. I just can't. And like, I don't know. I'm still going to see if I can beat Breath of the Wild before, or not, Fire Emblem before the year is out. But I'm not entirely hopeful about that because it just I don't know, playing the same game for a long period of time, like it's work for me to get through. It's why I don't like the fact that we've made 20 hours the new like default time period for a video game, because I liked playing 8 to 12 hour video games because it meant I could play a lot of them and I could finish them. I get all the way to the end of an 12 hour video game in like one big day worth of playing.
Yeah.
You just can't do it with 20. So let's see. Jonathan Scratch says, I've got a Jeff-centric question, but John, feel free to chime in. It's about Gundam. What's dumber, being a Gundam because the mech is made of Gundanium alloy like in Wing, or being a Gundam because of a fucking acronym that pops up when the mech boots up like in Seed? I look forward to your wisdom. That's from Jonathan Scratch. Gundanium alloy. I think that's the stupider thing. Yeah. Boy, my SDG generation Gundam battle tactics is like 25% downvotes now because I talked about how I didn't like Wing Gundam. Or I'm sure there's a lot of reasons.
Oh, you said you didn't like Gundam Wing? Or?
Yeah.
Gundam Wing is a very beloved show.
And well, actually, I said that, and then later on, I was even like, I've never really even watched it, so maybe I should give it a chance. I mean, I watched like 10 minutes of the first episode, and I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't like these pretty 14-year-old boys. I'm not into that.
I never really cared for Gundam Wing. I'll be honest, I've never really could get into Gundam.
Yeah.
Though, you know, I've watched some of the older stuff, and then for some reason have the live-action Canadian Gundam movie G Savior. Mm-hmm. I have that on DVD for some fucking reason.
Of course you do.
I don't know why I have it. I just do.
You know why. It's because you're John.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, it's definitely an acquired taste, and it was something that was just different than a lot of the other mecha shows. I mean, I remember going back and watching the original, the run, the what is it, like UC-77 run or whatever it is. Whatever the first run was, the late 80s, whatever, when it came out. And I think it's raw. Like, I think it would be hard. I would have been hard pressed to get in the show starting with that, as opposed to starting way down the line with like the 08th MS team and Char's Counterattack and some of the much later stuff where it was a much more polished property than in the beginning. So I don't know. You should try watching Gundam Thunderbolt sometime, because it's just a movie. It's just like a 2-hour movie. It's a solid movie. It's good to go. That's one. They made a sequel. They made a sequel to that movie. They even set it up at the end for a sequel. Like, it was all kind of like wrapped up and kind of a completed story. Or, I mean, you didn't find out what happened to everybody, but it was like that movie sits inside of the Gundam timeline, a specific area. And then at the end, it really was like, oh, this is that battle. And then it's like, oh, we've set up for a sequel. And I was like, no, it was so good. It's just a standalone thing. I mean, I watched a sequel and it was pretty good, but I kind of liked it better when it was just like, boop, just this one little short story in the middle of it. Let's see. Septum Sin writes and says, "Dear Rage Lords, just want to say thank you for all you do. I work as a therapist, and I've recommended you to many who are gamers and love Let's Plays. Oh, wow. I've had many reports that you have helped and even kept a few from harm. I know that the small amount I am able to give is nowhere near the amount you deserve. Keep knocking them out." From Septum Sin. Well,
thank you.
Very nice.
And for any of those that he's recommended that are listening, hi.
Glad to have you. Big tent, John. Big tent. Yeah. Everybody get in here. What's a Let's Player? There was a few comments. I read all the comments because that dumb Gundam video is up to 30,000 hits.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a lot of like, you two are the worst people I've ever seen in the universe. And I was just like, what? Some guy was like, your opinions are bad, go back to driving trucks. And I was like, what? I don't understand. Is that like a thing that the young people say now? Go drive your truck, old man. Go. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
they just think because we live in the South that we're like redneck truck drivers.
Maybe. I'm often amused to think of the idea of like, because Rage Select at its total has 12,000 subscribers. So coming in like, and that video has 30,000 hits, right? So there's probably about at least 15,000 people probably more than that, who are watching that video who have never heard of Rage Select before. So they just hit the play button and they heard my jackass be like, a lot of people are just like, shut up, stop talking. I want to listen to what the game audio is. And I'm like, no, we're going to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. There will be no not talking, only talking. Let's see. Dan K says, proud patron Dan K here. Is there any video game franchise that you would like to have get the Castlevania treatment? A Netflix show that basically doesn't phone it in. I'd love to have an animated Legacy of Kain series myself. Thanks as always from Dan K.
Legacy of Kain would be a good one.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's some really good lore.
Saints Row 4.
I also wouldn't mind we did get an animated movie of it, but that treated it pretty well. But Dead Space, I would like an actual full on more of that,
Like a series?
like a series or something.
I think at this point I might be more interested in watching Assassin's Creed as a series than playing it as a video game.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. What else? I need to try watching some of those Persona animes, because if I'm never going to play Persona 5 the game, I might as well watch Persona 5 the anime.
Yeah.
This will probably give away the end of the game, but
of course it will. But yeah, I'm trying to think some other games I would like to see animated or given a series treatment. Obviously, we're getting not an adaptation of the games, but an adaptation of the book of The Witcher. Which should be interesting.
Does it have to be animated?
I don't know. He's just saying Netflix
show that doesn't phone it in. I'd love to have an animated Legacy of Kain series myself. I think it's mostly because I just want it to be a thing. But you can say Castlevania, it reminds me of Silent Hill, and how Silent Hill is now languishing in Poopsville over there at Konami in the slot machine zone. I'd love to see. I think Silent Hill would make a great anthology if they did it more like 2, where it was like people get drawn into Silent Hill, and then Silent Hill, the town, uses their mental demons against them to torment them.
Yeah.
That would be a great premise for a show, because then you could switch to different protagonists or different points of view, and people trying to survive in the town, but then also facing their demons. And I think it would be really good for a show.
Yeah, do a different season as a different person or whatever.
Yeah.
If you did multiple seasons or whatever, that'd be good. I think Darksiders might be interesting as I feel like they'd have to add a little bit more to the story to make it work.
I don't know. We still got to play Genesis and see how that is. I mean, 3 takes place during the apocalypse, so 1 starts before, jumps way after. 2 is in a different dimension, where it's
in a different dimension while
1 is happening. He's trying to undo the apocalypse.
Yeah, because it takes 2 and 3 kind of take place after the point where
War's been imprisoned. Right.
So he's in prison, so 2 and 3 are happening kind of at the same time.
You never go to Earth in 2 though, right?
No.
It's all in the
That's
weird
all in the
World
weird
of Warcraft,
old other world or whatever.
Okay.
He's searching the other realms to find a way to undo the apocalypse.
Right.
Whereas Fury, whatever her name is in 3, she's just on Earth doing whatever.
She's trying to corral the 7 deadly sins that escaped when the apocalypse happened.
Okay.
And then she
I
ends
never
up
played 3, so I don't know.
getting hooked up with the survivors of the apocalypse. There's kind of a whole sub-story in there. I've often thought I wish that I could go back and play 3
and I know
after
the new game that came out, that's the isometric top-down 2-player game, that takes place before all of it.
Yeah.
So the apocalypse hasn't happened yet.
Yes. That would be a good universe. I mean, there's plenty of good universes that I feel like would be fine for that sort of treatment. Yeah, lots of RPGs. I feel like I would rather just watch a show about than play a whole game full.
I do feel like that, JRPGs, you do get a lot of
adaptations,
decent anime adaptations that are on the level of that Castlevania.
Yeah. Well, there was a Bayonetta one that you really liked, right?
Yeah, it was the Bayonetta one.
It's not JRPG, but I mean Japanese video game.
But yeah, what is it, Psychopaths? There's a few animes that are based on video games that are interesting.
Okay. Let's see. We got time for a couple more here real fast. Kenny writes in and says, "Hello, Jeff and John. I've recently just finished Haikyuu, exclamation points, and loved it very much. The feels I got from it reminded me of when I first began watching My Hero Academia. Afterwards, I watched October Sky for the 8th time, knowing the ending was going to tear me up. And when I got to the ending, surprise, I was getting emotional for the 8th time. My questions are, do you have a go-to movie that always gets you in the feels? Every time, 100% of the time. Also, would you rank movies or other forms of media that can make you tear up higher above movies or other forms of media that don't? Your loyal patron, Kenny." I think I might give stuff that gets me emotionally worked up. It depends on what I'm in the mood for.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reason I watch My Hero Academia is because every other fucking episode is Deku's so heartfelt and earnest that I'm just like, man, that guy deserves to be a hero. He really, All Might really just, there's one episode where of the recent series, no spoilers here, where it was just All Might and Deku have a conversation about being a hero, and All Might gives him a thumbs up in front of a sunset at the end of the conversation. I'm just like, man, those two, they really are heroes, man. So I think that's the whole reason I watch anime, is because it's so earnest eventually that you get the feels going on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It depends, because I mean, comedies don't exactly make me tear up.
Yeah,
I like comedies a lot. Action movies.
It depends on what I'm ranking them on. I would, if there are two tearjerker movies, type movies that are supposed to induce tears or whatever, it's supposed to have a lot of feels, a lot of emotion, and would I rank one that makes me tear up a little bit higher than one that wouldn't, if they're both supposed to emit the same emotion?
Yeah.
Maybe not. It's kind of, I don't know. It just depends on what the content is about. Because for me, stuff that makes me emotional, and I'm sure this is true for everybody, usually ties into a memory or for me, I'm watching something and a movie that actually does get me emotional is Frequency.
Yeah.
It's Dennis Quaid and
I think we've talked about it before.
What the hell is his name? Jim Caviezel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think.
Yeah. I could have his first name wrong. I don't know why. I know his last name's Caviezel. But that movie hits a little hard for me because it's a story about a guy and his dad, and the movie starts and his dad is dead.
Yeah.
When he's an adult and his dad is it. I have a parent who died.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy. The beginning of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie fucks me up every single goddamn time.
Yeah.
Because it's him dealing with his mother who has cancer. My mom died of cancer. Those things will hit me every time, especially if they're done well.
Right. Now,
just having someone who dies of cancer in your movie, not going to get me a tear up.
Yeah.
It's a very specific child whose mother is dying of cancer, that will hit me.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing.
So do you, I'm sorry, I don't know if you actually said it, but do you think that emotional pull on you gives the movie more gravitas than a similar movie which does not manage to hit you in the feels?
It really depends.
Okay.
Is my thing. It's because there are definitely movies that have made me tear up.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't actually even put in a top 10 kind of thing. But other movies that don't make me tear up that are kind of that same level that I would put in a top 10 just because it's a better movie.
It's a case-by-case basis.
It really is a case-by-case basis for me because, but I mean, there are definitely movies that do get me to tear up every single time. And there's certain things there's TV shows and stuff where things will happen and I'll be like, you're hitting me right in the feels.
Yeah.
Not even in a someone's dying or dealing with death or dealing with tragedy, but something good is like you said with the whole My Hero Academia thing.
Sure.
Where it's just you're so happy and it's tears of happiness that kind of thing. There are definitely a lot of things that do that as well.
I mean, I don't know if people know this because I complain all the time and I like violent video games and stuff like this, but I am a softie. I watched Klaus 2 weeks ago. Back half of that movie, I was kind of crying the entire time. I was just like, oh, how heartwarming. I've got a lot of emotions in me, and then a lot. I had this teacher one time, And I get this a lot, so I don't consider it to be insulting. But when I was in animation school, I had this one teacher that was like the animation director, and we used to just hang out. We used to drink. We used to talk about movies and stuff like that all the time. And he, for the long time, he liked to call me like a robot because he was like, you're so analytical about everything, you're so logical about everything, there's so much emotion about everything. Or so little emotion about everything. And then at a certain point, he realized it's like, that's because I'm a really, really emotional person. So I try to keep that shit real locked down when I'm around other people, because I come from a very repressed family that is considered like bad form to put your emotions on other people. Yeah. So you keep it all inside, and then when you're by yourself, you're just like, oh man. So I mean, I get really emotional at the end of. We were talking about. I think it was you and I that were talking about Creed 2.
Yeah. No, I never saw Creed 2.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. But I was talking with somebody about Creed 2, and I was like, yep, I got real emotional at the end of that. I get real emotional at the end of the first Creed, just having a match. Rocky's like, yeah, you go get him, kid. And I'm just like, yeah, go get him, kid. Like, it doesn't take much to get me, except when it's naked pandering. Like, when I know that they're doing it, and they're doing it for the reason of making me get all... then I resent it, and I might tear up, but then I'm mad about it, and I don't have any good feelings later on. But I'm with you, and it's a case-by-case basis. Yeah. Except I am a light touch. I don't know, is there any particular thing that you go-to emotions movie or show or something?
That I watched when I want to feel emotions? Or
do you have a go-to movie that always gets you in the feels every time, 100% of the time? I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of them out there. It used to be just Shawshank. I couldn't get to the end of Shawshank without being a blubbery little girl.
Yeah, or, I don't know.
Crying like a human. I mean, either way.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think there's a movie that, like, I go to like, feel good or whatever. Like, go to feel good movie or whatever. I do have movies that if I want to, like, if I'm feeling, like, kind of drained creatively, that I'll watch to kind of...
Like, recharge.
Mm-hmm. And they're not movies that you would think like, oh, that's a movie you would watch to recharge your creativity or whatever. Like
Gremlins 2?
No, like High Fidelity or SLC Punk or Ghostbusters. But those type of things, I'll rewatch those and like that'll kind of recharge my brain as far as creativity goes, and then I'll go be creative. But
all right. Well, I tell you what, this last one's a quickie. We'll just do some listing. Guy writes in and says, ding dong, Jeff and John. What are some of your favorite books? I ask because I've enjoyed instances in the past where you've discussed reading, and I'd love to hear about some of your favorite works of fiction and or nonfiction. Fans since the old days. Stay eternally classy. Best wishes from Guy. I know that I'm going to expand that to comics as well. I don't know if you're reading anything right now.
I bought an actual book.
I just don't know how many novels you read, so I feel like
I don't read a lot, but like I do have some. I mean, I've talked about a lot of the ones that I've read here on the podcast before.
Yeah.
But trying to think of what some of the ones that I've read that I've really enjoyed. I really liked Gone World by Tom Sweaterslich. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Okay.
But it's called The Gone World. I really like that one.
I'm going to go... I'm going to just refrain from listing off all the sci-fi that I'm reading and say Futuristic Violence in Fantasy Suits, I think is... I really, 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 really like that book a lot. I never finished it. Did you ever read... Super Gods by Grant Morrison?
I have the audiobook for it.
Okay.
And it's super fucking boring.
Oh.
Okay. The book may be really good, but the audiobook not so good.
I'm just going through some of the stuff here that's not sci-fi. There's a guy named, I don't know if you've ever heard this before. I think this is a really interesting book, and I don't know how many people have read it. A guy called John Ronson, and he wrote this book called So You've Been Publicly Shamed, where he goes and he finds like a few people that have, like there was the, it's interesting because it's like 4 or 5 people that he found that basically got on the wrong side of the internet and got jumped on. And for good reason, a lot of times. Like, but like, did you ever hear the story? There was like this woman who got on a flight to Africa, And as she got on the flight, she tweeted like, "Going to Africa. Hope I don't get AIDS. Haha, never mind. I'm white. That won't happen," or something like that.
Oh, no.
And then she turned off her phone. She got on the plane. During the flight, the tweet went viral. She landed, and somebody walked up. As soon as she turned on her phone like exploded with notifications. She was fired from her job. And in fact, somebody was even at the airport with a phone to film her surreptitiously and then put her reaction to finding out that she'd been fired when she got off the plane on the internet. So it's an interesting, it doesn't come to any direct conclusions, but it's just an interesting question. Like there was one where there were these two girls that went to, it was like a national, it was like a cemetery, for soldiers. And there was a sign that said like, please be quiet and respectful. And they took a picture with the two of them where one of them was flipping the sign off and the other one was like miming, screaming, like just doing the opposite of the sign. Right.
Yeah.
And they put it online, and like I think one of those girls like worked in a, like with learning disabled people, and like when this hit the internet, she got fired. She couldn't get another job because if you searched for her, all this shit came up.
Yeah.
They also talked to like this firm that does a thing where they'll literally write stories about you and then manipulate the SEO rankings to get them up, so that if an employer searches for your name, they'll come across a bunch of blogs that have been written on your behalf instead of news stories about what a terrible person you are. It's an interesting book. He's written a couple of books that I thought were kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like when it comes to books, like books, and again, I've talked about it on the podcast before, I tend to read more autobiographical. Like I don't tend to read a lot of, I will read obviously, fiction, but I tend to prefer, like, I want to know the story of whatever. Like Robert Rodriguez's Rebel Without a Crew, I think it's an amazing book. I think it's a really good book, especially if you're a wannabe filmmaker, and hell, even if you're, even if you are a filmmaker, I think it's some of the stuff he talks about. And it's not even like him, it's not a book about him telling people how to break into the film business. It's just him talking about, it's literally a diary of him working, how he made the first El Mariachi movie. And it's just so fascinating to kind of see like where his mental state was, what he did to raise money, how he filmed everything, what he did to get actors, like, it, and a lot of the stuff that's in that book you'll find in like the extra features on his movies and stuff like that. But like that book is just such a fascinating read. Also, Bruce Campbell's If Chins Could Kill, I think is a really great book, because again, it's him going over his life, kind of thing. Chris Jericho's series of books about his wrestling career, about his career in both wrestling and music, since he's now also, has a band that's pretty popular, Fozzy. Like his stuff, his books, and he's a very funny guy. Like he puts humor into his book. He's, he the way he writes is very, very well done. It almost feels like he's sitting there talking to you, telling you the story of his life that you're reading. Okay, and I think it's really, really interesting. And like those are the kind of books that I tend to go for.
Yeah, like personal biographical type of stuff.
Those are, at least for the longest time, that's what I've kind of been trying to break out of that more recently, just to try other things.
Hit the fiction up, hit the fictional literature type of thing.
Yeah. I recently bought a book upon Amanda's recommendation. She hadn't read it either, but it was something she really wanted to read. But she was like, I've got like 30 books I want to read. I really want to read this book too. And she started telling me about it, and I was like, well, I think that looks really good. I'll buy the book. Fuck it. I want to read it. And I plan to sit down and read it at some point soon. I just can't think of what the title of it is all of a sudden. I may have to look that up to see if I can find it. But,
what was it about?
It's kind of like the...
Actually, I'm thinking, I don't think there's any way that I could extrapolate a title from a description.
I can, if I can get a second here, I can tell you what it is right now.
Oh yeah, there you
go. My Best Friend's Exorcism.
Okay.
It's essentially kind of a the way it's described, the book is really cool looking because it's done to the dust jacket for it. It's a paperback book, but the dust jacket for the book is designed to look like an old like rental store VHS for a horror movie.
Oh.
Even with live action stills on the back.
Cool.
For like scenes from the movie, even though it's not a movie.
Yeah.
But it's by the same guy who wrote a book called Horror Store, which that book is designed to look like an IKEA catalog.
Okay.
And when you read it, it's about a group of people that go in that are in a place like IKEA that is turned out to be like haunted. Hence the Horror Store.
Okay.
But like it's written and done designed to look like a IKEA catalog basically, but then it's also a novel inside of it.
Okay.
It's really interesting. Like, but this one's essentially about a girl whose best friend gets possessed, and she's kind of going trying to help get her it's like The Exorcist meets, I don't know, some type of like if The Exorcist was written by Tina Fey, I think is one of the quotes on the box.
Okay.
Is like, if The Exorcism was written by Tina Fey and directed by some other kind of lighthearted, there's a little bit of comedy to it, whatever. And it seemed interesting to me. I was like, I want to read that. I kind of want it. That seems interesting. But yeah.
Okay.
And I've got, a shit ton of comics that I'm always reading. So
I'll do one more that's not sci-fi, and that's this is one I read a long time ago. It's called Salt, Sugar, Fat. There's actually Salt, Sugar, Fat and The Omnivore's Dilemma are both really good books about food, but Salt, Sugar, Fat is by this guy named Michael Moss, who was a journalist, and it's basically the story of like how our food got the way it is now. It's a tracking of how did food become what food is now, as opposed to the way that food used to be, kind of step by step, and a lot of interesting stories about what brands do to food, how food affects us, how the food got where it is. I think I don't bring it up that much on the podcast, but I'm really obsessed with the way that America's food is put together. Like, it's both horrifying and fascinating to me. And that is one of the books, that and The Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan, which is a little higher tier, more of a kind of philosophical, where does our food, how did we get this way, but more of a going back to the beginning type of thing. So,
yeah. Also, Trevor Noah's Born a Crime is really good too.
Okay. And with that, we're done. This has been the Rage Select Podcast. MailRageSelect.com is the email address. Send in your questions now, and we will read them on the air. This is the end of the Rage Select Podcast. Johnny, ready for questions?
Yeah, sure.
Damn it!